Hey, what's going on, guys? Nice to see you guys here. STRATalooza has been nice enough to grace us with Rob and everybody else that you see here on your screen. So, STRATalooza, why don't you go ahead and take it over? I'm gonna leave the emceeing up to you, and yeah, we'll go from here. Welcome, everybody.
Hello, Strat fam. Welcome, welcome, welcome. Peace and blessings upon all of you, and welcome to the first ever STRATapalooza. I am the STRATalooza, and I am truly honored to be your host for this event. On behalf of myself, my co-host OG, and all of our distinguished guests, I would like to welcome you to what we all hope is the first of many future community events to come. We've gathered here today to pay tribute to the creator and the commander-in-chief of the Strat, Rob Smith. And what can I say? Wow, do we have an all-star guest list here today? This is really the who's who of the Strat community. While I'm the MC, I could not have made this event happen without everyone here today. So thank you all for attending. To my esteemed guests for all of your help and support in making this event a reality. Every single person who confirmed here today pretty much said the same thing when I asked them to come on the show. Their answer was, we love Rob. Yes, absolutely, we're in. So our mutual love and respect for Rob and all he's done for us and the community is the reason why this event is happening today. So let's go ahead and introduce today's guests. First and foremost, we have the man himself, Rob Smith. We all know and love Rob. He's been in the industry since he was 15 years old as a runner on the floor, worked his way up through the ranks, eventually working as a specialist, in the pits of Chicago. He was the man in the arena, as they say. And the entire Strat community owes its existence to Rob for his tireless work over, decades of experience in trading, where he distilled a lot of things from traditional technical analysis down into just a pure price action trading, system that is so simple and objective and easy to use. And if you know who Rob is, you know how passionate he is about the Strat and how much he loves sharing this gift with the world. The Strat works if you work it the way it's supposed to, and we're here to hear about how we all use the Strat. So we'll hear from Rob in just a few moments here. He's going to go through the basics and the universal truths of the Strat. If you haven't read the original interview, the article with Steve Burns on what do we know to be true about price action, or any of his other interviews on Benzinga or anywhere else, you definitely should. We'll be sharing a list of resources after the show, so keep an eye out for that. After Rob introduces the ones, the twos, the threes, and the 4 Cs, we will pass the floor to our distinguished guests. We all trade the Strat using different time frames, using different securities. Some of us trade common stock, some trade options, futures. We've pretty much traded everything out there as a group here. This is a testament to how universal the Strat is, how it can be traded on all different time frames. Basically, anything that has price, you can use the Strat for. Our first guest speaker will be, my co-host for today. He's one of the best futures traders I've ever met. The Strat OG, also known as OG Trades. I've had the pleasure of working alongside him, and I can tell you that he is definitely the real deal when it comes to trading. He's a veteran who went on to work for a hedge fund. He uses the Strat to make the futures market his personal ATM. If you know him, you know what I mean. I can't wait for him to share his Fibonacci discovery with the world. Our second speaker has become a dear friend of mine over the last few months. Without her Stratucation videos on YouTube, I don't believe the Strat community would have grown to where it is today. I'm talking about none other than Sarah the Strat Sniper, one of the toughest people I know. Her story is an inspiration to all of us. She'll be sharing some of her insights on, the SSS 50% rule, the domino effect, and a few other gems of knowledge that she'll share with us. Our third guest is honestly one of the kindest, most humble people I've ever had the pleasure of meeting. If you know Joe, you know exactly what I'm referring to. He's one of the original Straters out there, and he'll be sharing how he not only trades but lives the Strat. The way he lives and goes about his life is what I believe to be the embodiment of Rob's vision for life as a Stratter should be. After Joe, we have Michael, aka the Blind Trader. Michael is an inspiration to us all, and he'll be talking about charting your path, putting in the work. He's absolutely one of the hardest working traders I know, and we will all benefit from what he will be sharing with us today. If you want to hear from a trader who's overcome the odds, Michael is the man for the message. Following Michael, we have our guests from TrendSpider, Dan Ushman and David Yoakum. They will be sharing some of the exciting new features of TrendSpider, which is the only charting platform with the Strat built in. Right? It's an absolute staple of the Strat community. I know I'm excited to see what they have to show us. And they've also been very generous in offering up a few 3-month subscriptions to TrendSpider. So stay tuned for that giveaway as well. Leading us into the second half was supposed to be Andy the Mighty Soldier. Unfortunately, he wasn't able to make it today. I do have some words that he did write out for me to share with the community, which I will gladly do. After him, we have somebody who's rather quiet on social media, but is one of my favorite Stratters. When I think of Miss Dee Edwards, I always think of respect and prestige. She's always smiling. You can see her smiling right now. One of the original Stratters, in my opinion, the go-to authority on broadening formations. Always so graceful and eloquent. I know she will help expand your trading horizons. Speaking of expanding your horizons, the next guest is the range master himself, Ramon. If you've seen his interview, you know that nobody discusses range and price aggregation the way our friend Ramon does. So get your pens ready, because this is definitely something you want to take notes for. Another guest who unfortunately wasn't able to make it today was Arturo Peralta. He will be sharing a video later. Yeah, unfortunately something came up rather last minute, and he will be sharing a video later with the community. He's part of SEAL Team Strat. He does some incredible things trading, very short time frames. He only trades Tesla, options on Tesla, I should say, using Bookmap as sort of a secondary to see order flow. But he's also, a phenomenal stratter and trader, and we wish he was with us today. Actually, his Benzinga interview is one of the first interviews I ever saw when I found the Strat. So speaking of Benzinga interviews, our final guest is none other than the man who launched the community into the stratosphere with his original interview with Rob Smith. One of the most seasoned interviewers out there in the trading world, none other than Ryan Faluna. So a special shout out to Benzinga. Many of our guests here today have interviewed with Benzinga in the past, so we are definitely looking forward to that. And finally, our guest of honor, the man who, without his work, we wouldn't be the community we are today, Rob Smith. He will be giving us a 2022 macro recap and insight into what to look out for in 2023. I know I'm personally very excited for this event. I've spoken at many different venues to hundreds of people, but this is the event that I was most excited for. So I'm really looking forward to watching the recording, because I know there will be a lot of information that I personally will want to write down from all of the gems that will be shared today. So let's go ahead and get to it. Let's go ahead and get Rob to tell us just the basics of the Strat. Rob, welcome.
Thank you. I apologize. We just moved my office home, so that's why the camera's a little funky and a little high, but we'll get her done. So it's more about the information than being able to look at my face. So should I share my screen?
Yeah, absolutely. If you'd like to share your screen.
Okay. Let's see. Where are we going here? Okay, so I'm not going to teach too much just yet, and what we can do is when I circle back and I start talking about, the new year and all that kind of stuff, we can get back to questions then, and I'm more than happy to answer them, that. So let me shrink this down. This is a monthly SPY. So this is going to be just absolute basics. I mean, I'm not going to go into too much here. I'm going to assume that most people have done some due diligence on, before you're here to understand some of this stuff. So essentially what we know is that there's only three things that can happen from one bar to the next, right? And what that is where's my insider? I got to go back out a little bit. 1 second. Do love my monthly SPY because there's so much good stuff in there. So there's only so much. Hopefully you guys can see this clear enough. Inside bar, one, right? So there's three scenarios. There's only three things that can happen, right? So if you're brand new to the strat, just let this basic stuff sink in, right? Don't think you got to learn it all right now. What you're going to see from a lot of people is today is that I'm showing you the foundation of how price action works, how it must adhere. There's no two ways about it. And even if the whole world knows it, it has to do it. So what I'm saying here is this bar here, called scenario one, inside bar, not strong enough to take out the highs, not weak enough to take out the lows. That's a consolidation. Nobody can dispute that. The next one is a two, scenario two, taking out either the highs or the lows of the previous bar. So you can see this here, this bar, and then this bar is a two down by taking out the lows of the previous bar, right? So that can be a two down or a two up here, taking out the highs, right? Then the three bar. And this is what messes with people. If this didn't exist, trading would be very simple. It would be all rectangular. And so when you've seen guys put up boxes and stuff like that, so all that kind of stuff, no. An outside bar means that you took out one side and the other side of the previous bar. Very important to understand because we know that becomes a broadening formation on a shorter time frame, right? And so if you've ever, and I speak repetitively a lot, is that, if you've ever made a little, and then gave it all back, and then some, that's what happened to you, right? And so if we go to here on the monthly, and if you look at this is an outside bar. It took out the highs on the month and then starts coming back through. So since we know that when we start coming back through here, we're going to take this out because there's something that we also use called time frame continuity. And what that means is who's getting their price, who's more aggressive, the buyers or sellers. And so classic technical analysis has always talked about oscillators and all this kind of stuff. I want to know, are the buyers staying on the bid or are they taking the offer? Are the sellers staying on the offer? They're hitting the bid. This tells me they're hitting the bid. And because we know these outside bars exist, once it starts coming through here, we know we're going to take that out. Then take out the lows, flip back to where all the time frames were green, went outside again. Now, one of the most important concepts of this as well is that you'll hear me say once a three, always a three, can't not be, right? What does that mean? That means if they were going to pay up and sell down to get the outside bar, they might do it again. So here, last December, they bought it up, they sold it down to give you the outside bar, and then rallied all the way back, right? Thus the name broadening formation. So it could be going back and forth like that. So then another outside bar, all that kind of stuff. So, I don't want to get, too involved in teaching right now. What I will say, and I say all the time, is that what you're going to see today is that when I teach this, I say that, I tell people that the strat will customize itself to who you are, right? It can't change. Price action can't change, but you might not have $1 billion. You might not have 200 million shares to buy. You might have to work. You might have to, how your mind perceives things. And that's why it's great when we have those forums at the Sepia group, where what I try and do is tie people into, similarities. This is what I do. Like, that makes sense to me, right? This is what I do. That makes sense to me. So what you're going to see today is a collage of people who've used this foundation Just say, this is how I'm going to use this. This is how I'm going to use this. This is how I'm going to use this. So essentially that without the strat, most traders don't have a foundation. They're jumping all over the place and saying, well, this guy says that now. This guy says that now. This guy says that now. This guy says nothing works in all markets, right? All that kind of stuff. So essentially what the strat is a foundation that you can build on based completely on the truth, right? There's no way something can be not a 1, a 2, or a 3. And when we use our multiple time frame analysis, we can tie it all in because there's only so many ways that price can reverse, and there's only so many ways that price can continue. So when you line that up with, with all the different time frames, you can see exactly what's going on. There's no surprises, right? It doesn't mean you can't get stopped out. 3 can mess you up, and you got to know if you're battling a 3 or a potential 3, all that's going to save you a lot, and that's why you'll hear us talk about tight stops and whatnot. Be like, just get out. But when we're right, the important thing about the outside bar, and I'll go back into here, is it helps you gauge magnitude. So you'll hear people often say that, I got out too early. Those are the people who have no idea how to gauge magnitude. We do. Once it starts going through here, we're going to take these guys out, right? For sure. And that's why, we'll get into some more macro at the end here. One of the things this year, the macro is just so powerful this year. And, one of the things that makes me happy is when the SPY did an outside year and I could just see the Twitter feed light up. Did we all know about that? We certainly did. Everybody's like, there it is. there it is. Right? We've been waiting for this all year. So if you're new to this, let it sink in, right? Don't try and soak it all in at one time. But like I said, you're going to see a collage of people here. They're going to explain to you how they've built their foundation or what they do from this foundation, because without it, I would bet against you every time. I've been doing this a long time, and I know most traders lose because they don't have a solid foundation. They're grasping at straws and saying, oh, this is my non-confirmation, this is my eye of Newt, and all this kind of trying to put it all together. And by the time they blow out, they blame themselves by using things that can't possibly work. There's no question about it, right? And so you're going to see all that. You're going to hear from Dan from TrendSpider that when I showed him, he was like, we're putting this in the software, man. This is just too good. Right when I showed it to him, and I'll never forget meeting him, and then Jake coming back, and then Ryan, and I'm sorry that Andy's not going to be here today. His interview really helped launch things with Ryan, because when I watched that, Andy was the first one to tell him, he's like, I don't think I've ever seen anything that's produced more winning traders than the strat. And that got Ryan's attention. That was good. I'm sorry that Arturo's not going to be here today too. Arturo, some people I call naturals. He was a natural. He was only with me for a month in the chat, and then boom, everything clicked. And it's always rewarding when I can see stuff like that, where he came and he was like, dude, I was like, all right. And then I get a picture of him and in front of his house that he bought for his family and all that kind of stuff. And that's what keeps you going, really. And another great thing about the people here, Dee, Sarah, amongst all of you, is that once you do learn this, it's hard to not want to teach it to others, right? And that's another thing that I've really enjoyed, is watching the teaching bug for people, where they do this, and oftentimes, sometimes they'll forego their own trades and be like, I got to help this person. I've got to help this person. And so I'm very proud of that as well. So I'm going to leave it at that. And like I said, I'll be back at the end. We'll talk about some macro, and you'll see when I talk about the macro charts, like it works on all time frames, right? And so the bigger time frames can produce the bigger moves, and we'll get to that at the end of the day, and maybe some questions and all that kind of stuff. But I think I'll leave it at that, and enjoy today and soak it in. I'm glad this is going to be recorded, but like I said, it's going to be a collage of different people, how they use these foundations, and something will resonate with you. Maybe not all of it, but some strategy that they talk about will resonate with you and be like, something, that's what I do, or close to what I do. And then you're going to take this foundation and then you're going to go with it, and you're going to be a stratter. And that's how it's going to be.
Oh, thank you so much, Rob, for giving us the basics of the strat. I know many of us here are already familiar with the strat, but for those that are new, I've been trading for a long time. I I've got, almost actually more than 20 years now trading experience. I've been around through, I worked in the industry during the financial crisis. I've seen a lot. And it wasn't until I came across the Strat where I was just like, wow, this just makes so much sense. And a lot of the things that I saw were familiar. I was fortunate enough to do my CMT 10 years ago, so I'm, somewhat well versed with technical analysis. But I saw so many things and I was just like, you know what? All of that other stuff was just extra. I don't need all of this stuff. If I can just trade the Strat, why do I need to bother with Elliott Wave or the Kondratiev cycle or, any of these other things that we've seen over the years? And so for me, the beauty of the Strat is its simplicity, right? It's distilled so much of technical analysis really into, the ones, the twos, the threes, the four C's. We've got our broadening formations. We need to understand magnitude, but you don't have to write levels of exams to, be able to understand the Strat. Once you get the Strat, you can't unsee it. I go back and I look at a lot of my old charts, old trades that I took many years ago, and I was like, oh, you know what? Well, I probably wouldn't have taken that trade now that I know the Strat. Or I was like, hey, you know what? I could have stayed in that trade a lot longer now that I know how to gauge magnitude. So, from the community, Rob, really thank you for everything that you've done. We hope to make you proud. And I really look forward to your macro views at the end of the presentation. So thank you so much for being here. We're glad to have you live and in person. And we really just gathered here to say thank you for being, Rob.
Yeah, well, my pleasure. And, I say thank you for all you guys do. And you guys don't have to do this either, but you do. So I thank the whole community for what everybody does.
Thank you. So let's go ahead and bring on my co-host today, OG Trades.
Hey, what's up?
I call him Master OG, even though he doesn't like me saying that.
Get out of here. Get out of here. You're making a brown man blush, man.
He truly has, he's refined a unique edge when it comes to trading the Strat with futures. I have, I've traded futures myself. I don't trade them as often as I used to, but whenever I'm around OG, I'm always thinking, hey, you know what? Like 2 points, raise your stop, 2 points, and he's come across a fantastic discovery that I know weeks, months, years down the road, many people are going to look back at today as the day that he first presented it to the world. It's something that he combines with the Strat. Something that he's called Fibonacci. And before a lot of our Strat fam get all up in arms about Fibonacci, let's hear what he has to say. Welcome, OG. First, I wanted to thank you for tagging in as co-host. Took a lot of the burden of planning off of my shoulders. I really appreciate it, as well as everybody else who helped out. So first and foremost, tell us a little bit about yourself. How did you come across the Strat? And how do you use the Strat to live and to trade?
Yeah, thanks for that wonderful introduction. that was too many kind words, but thank you. I appreciate it. Thank you for putting this together for Rob, because it's an absolute honor to be a part of the community. I ran into Rob stuff like about a year and a half ago and just kind of fell in love with it because I've been trading for 14 plus years. I first started right after the military. I've done a weekend shift with Jermaine, so I don't want to, or for Strat Soldier, for those of you guys that don't know Jermaine, but so did an interview with him. I don't really want to go too much into my background because this is more for Rob. And honestly, after the military, I needed to figure out what I was going to do. I was injured in the military, so what am I going to do? And I had dabbled in stocks, just trading regular commons on eBay, or not eBay, E-Trade. You don't want to buy stocks on eBay, but E-Trade. So on E-Trade, those baby commercials, that kid in the crib that was trading stocks. I mean, that was my introduction to, other than just putting money into your TSM, which is like the 401k for the military. But yeah, definitely not eBay, Sarah. So it's definitely a really different introduction from just investing passively to then trying to make it into the financial world. Luckily, I was able to get what do you call them? Not an interview. I did get an interview, but in like an apprenticeship or like a help me out here, STRATalooza. Why am I've been up all night trying to plan this thing out with you that my brain is, yeah, there you go. Internship. Wow. So internship at a hedge fund where I was able to work as a fundamental analyst because my background is in operations management and analysis. So I did a lot of fundamental analysis, and as you guys know, that trade the strat, technical analysis with fundamental analysis, they kind of diverge. As an investor, you want to understand the fundamentals, but when it comes to technical analysis and day trading, you want to trade price action. There's going to be plenty of people on today that's going to be able to talk to you about price action. So I'm not going to bore you too much with that. But that's how I got my entry into the financial world. And then because I really wanted to be a trader, the bar to entry there was a little bit steep. And you had to know people to be able to trade. So I just went off on my own, and through heartache and through hard lessons, I was a losing professional trader for 3 years. So it was a tough road, but a lot of important lessons that I learned. And from there, I found my mentor, which helped me through this process of learning how to trade. And it was ultimately all price action. So that when I ran into Rob, like a year and a half ago, I believe the first video I saw was Strat Soldiers video on Benzinga that turned me on to Rob. And if you guys aren't aware, I did pin in the chat a message that Strat Soldier gave out for Rob. Unfortunately, he had family things he had to do today, and he's unable to be here live, but check out his video on Twitter. Just figured I'd give him a shout out there. And so I've always traded price action, but what I'm here to talk about is it's not really an unveiling, but this is like a little bit more public forum for the way that I trade price action. Being involved in an institution and watching traders and seeing what they use, they use a lot of Brian Shannon's things with VWAP, not necessarily just Brian Shannon's things, but VWAP is widely used in the industry. So I want to use VWAP, and I'm going to pull up these charts here. I'm going to make it bigger, get my big dome out of the way. So I have my anchored VWAP. And it's always anchored daily. So I have a daily anchored VWAP that gives me my direction. It's like my trend line. Some other people use EMAs and things like that. Full time frame continuity is very, very important. I take that into consideration as well. But when I scalp futures, because I scalp futures for a living, that's how I make my bread and butter, is scalping futures. I look for short-term direction. These lines that I have on my chart here on these TrendSpider charts, which are absolutely awesome charts. If you guys have not checked them out, I know they're going to be here a little later, and they're running a promo. So 60% off TrendSpider, go get that. I mean, 60% is awesome. Not only that, but they're doing a giveaway later. So stick around for that. But I use the pivot points. Okay. So my indicator that I use is the anchored VWAP, and I use the pivot points daily. Those are the main things that I use. And I also use the volume by price. And I'm not going to get into that because there's a lot of information to unpack there. But what I like to use, this bigger, thick line, is the daily pivot. And if you guys aren't familiar with the pivot, what that is you're taking the previous day's price action. You're taking the high, you're taking the low, and you're taking the high, low, the close, and you divide it by 3. That gives you that pivot point. So what that gives me is it's not biased, but it gives me, like, I'm leaning towards the bullish side if we're trading above the daily pivot, because that means we're trading on the upper range of the previous day. Vice versa, if you flip that on its end, you're trading to the short side, or you're a little bearish if you're below that daily pivot because you're trading on the lower range of that previous day. Not only that, but using pivot points at an institutional level is what takes the subjectivity away from the trader, because you can set algorithms. Rob has talked about algorithms and what you have to tell an algorithm what to do, when to buy, at what price, when, and now. That's what the pivot points are going to let you know. You're going to see some volatility that comes in once you get close to these pivot points, whether it's a resistance level or a support level. It's all a mathematical number. So if I'm going to use these because it's an objective line to let me know where we're going to potentially see some activity, we can see that when the numbers came out on Friday, we were hovering just above the R1. As soon as we broke below the R1, we came all the way down to the pivot, blew through that, went down to the S1 and found some support there. And that's mathematical support. I'm not saying these are previous levels, they're previous pivot areas. These are literal pivot points. You can see that when you get to these pivot areas, you're going to get some sort of fluctuation in price, whether it's going to be resistance or whether it's that resistance then becomes support and you see a little bit of movement. So my basic set of rules when I'm scalping futures is that if price is above the daily anchored VWAP and it's above the daily pivot, I take my actionable signals in that direction. So if I am trading my inside or my hammer or my shooter, which not a shooter, but a hammer, I'll trade a hammer that is above VWAP and above the daily pivot to the long side, and I'll be risk on. Okay. There's a lot of terms that I'm going to talk about now that if you haven't heard before, I can't talk about everything because we have a lot of speakers. So ask questions, DM me, that's fine. Ask on Twitter, ask on the Discord, ask on Sepia group. I'm pretty available, but just understand we all have families, so we can't be on 100% of the time. So that's my basic set of rules. Long above VWAP, above the daily pivot, I'm going to take my actionable signals, inside setups and up, hammers and up above that. If we're trading below the daily pivot and below VWAP, I'm going to take my actionable signals to the short side, so inside and down. And I'm only looking to scalp a few points, because if I'm risk on, I'm taking multiple contracts. So even a 2-point move, which is typically what I look for, and I'm a highly active trader. So if I take 2 points with 4 contracts, that's a $400 move. I just need to repeat that and rinse and repeat as often as possible. You have another inside setup right here below the VWAP, right at the daily pivot, but you're going to want to take that to the south side because directionally you're going to be biased to the short side. And like I said, I use the term bias very loosely, but here's a nice 2-1-2 reversal. You're going to get at least 2 points out of that with my position sizing at least 4 contracts. Then that's a quick $400 move. So you get a $400 move here, $400 move here, and you just start like STRATalooza said when he gave me the introduction, that I literally just use the market like an ATM, and I'm just looking for these small pops, and I'm not looking for riding huge moves. Is there ways to do that? Yes, there are ways to do that, and I have those in my playbook as well. But I like to money out. Make sure I'm locking it in. Okay. Push your stops up on. If you want to ride the trend as much as possible, that's on you. That's your style. I'm never going to tell anybody to trade the way that I do, but it might help somebody out that's trading futures, because futures can be quite volatile with the way the price moves. So taking it one step further, this Fibonacci idea that I had, I liked using Fibonacci's before I was into the strat and just trading solely price action. I've learned many different things along my journey, but Fibonacci's always kind of rang true to me. And I just, within traders, different charts, in my charts, there is so much subjectivity. Which high are you going to use? Which low do you use? Is it the recent high, recent low? Is it the daily high, daily low? Are you using, what time frame are you using? It's very subjective. So I thought to myself, if I'm using the daily pivots, and that's as objective as you can get because it's a mathematical number, then why don't I use the Fibonacci's between these pivots to see if we're going to get any type of reaction within price in between? So light bulb moment for myself was, why did price reverse here? Okay. Why did price retrace here? There's a lot of people that'll tell you, well, there's a huge order vacuum. People are calling them fair value gaps, things like that. My mentor taught them to me as order vacuums. When price moves very quickly through here, anybody that had limit orders did not get filled. Price has to come back up in order for them to fill. And in order for brokers and exchanges to make their money, they need to fill these orders so that they get their commissions and they get their exchange fees. So what happens? Price will typically gravitate through that area, fill in these orders, and sometimes it fills it all the way, sometimes it only goes halfway. So to keep it objective, all I have to do is get my Fibonacci's on here from the pivot to the R1, and you can see that these Fibonacci's are respected. You're looking at movement going back up into this golden zone, and it just kind of chops around a little bit. We start to get price to move back up. We can't get above the 786, so we start to see price fail down. So what I do is I use these in combination. It gives me a third layer of trend, essentially. So if I'm above the daily pivot and I'm above VWAP and I'm trading within the golden zone, then I'm looking for price to go back up. But if we can't, this is typically the area you're going to see a retracement back down, which is exactly where we saw a retracement and come back down. There are a lot of nuances to any type of trading strategy, and this is what I have developed for myself. And I trade this every single morning live for 2 hours of the day, just explaining how these go. But I'm always underlying everything that I do with my setups. I'm looking for 2-1-2 reversals. I'm looking for potential exhaustion when we take out highs. I'm looking for 2-2 reversals to get us back down into that golden zone and have a mean reversion back into VWAP. A lot of Brian Shannon things that I do as well. So there's a lot of different ways to be able to play these. And with this just being a basic overview, I just kind of want to leave it there. I am actually working on a course, and I'm working on a book and a paper as well, a short paper to get published as well, because I've been doing this for quite a while, and I've back tested it, and there's plenty of different there's plenty of different ways to be able to see how price fluctuates through these areas. If I was to extend this all the way through the Globex session, you're going to see that these Fibonacci levels is where price reacts. So if you're looking at algorithms, if this is an objective way to be able to take a look at price action, then the Fibonacci's also give you objective levels to take a look at to see where price can react. So I'll leave you guys with that because we have plenty of other speakers. So STRATalooza, what do we got coming up next?
Well, thank you, OG. That was for a very short, sort of distilled explanation of your Fibonacci findings. That was fantastic. Thank you for sharing that. But it just goes to show you how when Rob says that the strat will customize itself to you and how you trade, this is just an absolutely fantastic example of it. And I know that when we speak with our other esteemed guests that we have today, they will also share some tidbits on how they first and foremost use the strat, because I know, when I pop into OG's room every once in a while to say hi and, to be part of that room, I see that he's always saying, okay, you know what? Here's a level that we're looking for. We're looking for a reversal. He's always talking about, okay, wait for this inside bar to either, wait for that setup and make sure that, you're following the strat first and foremost. All of the other things that he's doing are based off of the strat setups, right? So even though, we're using the strat primarily, there are still a lot of other things that we can use. If the strat is our primary tool, there are still other things that we can use to help us as traders, especially for those of us that trade futures or options or Forex or anything like that. So thank you very much, OG. And again, thank you for coming on as co-host. I really appreciate all the time and the effort. OG and I were up into the wee hours of the night and early this morning putting this together. So thank you on behalf of everybody as well. And thank you all who are here. Without further ado, I would like to bring on Sarah, the Strat Sniper. Let's welcome her. We all know Sarah. Sarah and I have become good buddies over the last few months. So welcome. Thank you so much for being here. And by all means, the floor is yours. How did you meet Rob? How did you find the strat? And tell us what you want to share. Welcome.
Cool. Well, thank you for having me. You guys know public speaking never gets any easier for me. So let's take a big deep breath, calm myself down. I don't so much like want to talk about the strat, but I wanted to talk about Rob and what he's done for me, what he's done for the community. It's funny out on Twitter, when we first got here back in, well, when I first got here back in 2019, it was a different world. People called us a cult, and I always thought that was really funny because we kind of act like one, but I wanted to kind of make reference to a Fight Club reference that somebody said once, and I thought it was hilarious because the first rule of Fight Club is we don't talk about Fight Club. And then so somebody on Twitter said, the first rule of the strat is tell everybody about the strat. So I thought that was really funny. And that is what Rob always wanted us to do. And he has such a bleeding heart for people. And never in my life did I think that I would have ended up where I am and doing what I'm doing. And it's all, because of what Rob said is when people learn about the strat, they just want to teach other people about the strat. And so I just kind of ended up on this road trying to figure out all these Robisms, in an effort to help myself learn and understand. I know that the best way to learn something is through teaching it. So I took to YouTube and started making videos. Oh my gosh, I can feel it in my voice, my nerves. Oh, you'd think I'd be used to it by now. Maybe if I could see Rob, pull Rob up. Is he out there? I feel like I'm talking to nobody. There he is. Hi, Rob. I need somebody to calm me down. And I didn't ever see myself being here, but I think that Rob did. He must have seen something in me. And the thing about this business and what we do is you don't have to be the smartest person ever. And I tell people all the time, I'm not very smart. I'm just not. A lot of people don't know. I didn't graduate high school, had a lot of loss in my life at a very young age. Had a baby at a young age. So, but what I did always have was hustle. And so that's kind of my message is anybody can do this. Yeah, I got Rob that Yeti. I see your hustle because that's all that, doing anything, you have to have hustle if you want to be successful at it. And you can't let yourself quit just flat out. And Rob was so kind and, he listened to me every day. I'm trying not to cry every day for a year, because I just couldn't figure out what I was, oh my gosh, I couldn't figure out what I was doing wrong. And, Rob really helped me. And so I'm so appreciative to you for that. And I just love you. I just wanted to come on and, share how much I love you and how much that you mean to me and the community. And I know we all feel the same. So, wow, this is embarrassing. So thank you. I don't know. I might need a break.
All right. So I'm pulling everybody up just to give you a little bit of moral support here. Just because we got Ryan's big head in there. So you can laugh at that. He's always leaning forward and trying to smoke stogies on screen. So we got everybody on here supporting you because we all feel the same way. We've seen everything that Rob does. We've seen everything that you've done to help push the community along. And we've all been there. And, I was at that breaking point as well. When I found my mentor, you found your mentor in Rob. And it does get to that point where it can get kind of frustrating, and you could get down on yourself a little bit. And
Oh yeah.
you know, I'm sure everybody here has felt that. And once you get this thing to click, and you got somebody like Rob in your corner, he's an awesome cut man, and that's a boxing term. He's there to really patch you up, get you back in the ring, and get back to fighting. But an absolute honor to be a part of this and helping co-host this. STRATalooza, I'm sorry, I'm putting you back on too. I almost forgot you on there. And I'm sure you got something to say, but I'm sure everybody here is you know, there's plenty of people in the chat that are just saying nothing but great things for you. And supporting you as well. So I'm trying to highlight all these guys, because virtual hugs for Sarah over here. There, that's Bill, yeah, and Joel. Rob's a life changer, absolutely. You know, genius is an understatement when it comes to how he was able to kind of come up with this. And it wasn't. Rob says it himself that it was just something that came to him. And you know, I'm sure Rob can elaborate a little bit more, but you know, it's when you've got a message, you kind of want to get it out there, and that's why fortunately we've got this group here together to you know, pay homage.
Yeah,
Exactly. This is exactly the reason why I had this idea, and Sarah was actually the first person that I talked to about this, and you know, just wanting to get together as a community and just come here and say thank you, right? I mean, Sarah showing, you know, just love and appreciation for Rob. This is who Rob is to all of us, right? And to the community. And just like, what can I say? Wow. You know, thank you, Rob, for everything that you've done. To everybody else who's here, being part of the community, you know, we're a happy family, and this is the way of the Strat. This is the way of the Strat. And you know, Sarah, if you've got anything else that that you want to share, or if you want to come back on later, by all means, feel free to do so.
well, I think I've calmed down a bit. Thank you, everybody.
Okay.
That's sweet. Everybody's being really sweet. So I love you guys all too. And yeah, it's you know, this is our passion. This is our life. And the people who do go on to teach, you know, it's because we want you to have the feeling that we have, you know, what was given to us. So we want to teach it and pass it on to you. And I know that there are a lot of rooms out there now, and learning the Strat is not about the rooms. You can learn the Strat for free. And that's always been Rob's gift to us. It's always been my way of passing on what he did to help others shorten the learning curve, because it took me a good 10 months to like wrap my head around, you know, country and Western, TTO, you know, all these things that I was like, what are we talking about? Like, so it took me a long time. But then once I did, I was like, oh, well, I kind of, you know, maybe people could understand it if I say it this way. So that, and that's just the whole Strat community. It's everybody out here trying to help other people. We're not a cult. There's not hundreds of thousands of people from all around the world talking about the Strat. It's not a conspiracy. There's got to be something behind it. And if you just take a little time to look into it, you will see that why it's so great, because it is so simple and anybody can do it. You just have to grind. The thing that I guess I kind of tagged a little bit was outside bars, because they would wreck me every time. So instead of getting, you know, mad about it and just taking the L, you know, we just kind of found a way around it. So we typically don't start our position size very big. So if you do get caught in a potential failed 2 goes 3, you know exactly what's happening. You can flip your position. You can even double your initial size to come out ahead, because you know where it's going now. You took your shot, because that's all we can do. Nothing is guaranteed in trading. You know, you took your shot, it hits you in the face, whatever, hit it back twice as hard and go the other way. But just adapting, not being biased. People have a terrible bull bias all the time. And I think that that's another advantage to the strat is we don't care what way it's going. We just want to know which way it's going and we want to play in that direction. So that kills that, bullish bias that people just love to have and love to see when it's not there. It could be so far down and people say, oh, it's oversold, I'm going long. And well, it's oversold for a reason. It's because you have full time frame continuity to the downside. So get the bull bias out of here, and I don't know, 50% rule, the domino effect, that is already a strat thing. I just called it that, but we use multiple time frames to trigger higher time frames, which in my opinion, give you the most high probability trades because you're also in doing a domino effect trade. So using the daily to trigger the weekly, to trigger the monthly, you're already trading in direction of full time frame continuity. So you're already playing with the trend. I think that was all I really had. I didn't make a presentation. I just came to speak from the heart and cry like a baby and tell you, Rob, thank you and that I love you.
For those of you that don't know who Sarah is, I don't think there's anybody in the strat community who doesn't know who Sarah is, but she does have her YouTube channel, which is an absolute staple of the strat community. So by all means, check her out on her YouTube page, and I will be sharing a list of resources after the session for where you can find everybody else who's here. And of course, we know that Rob can be found at Sepia Group. He is live on the mic every single day, so check him out, sepiagroup.com. Thank you so much, Sarah. We really appreciate your words. I know Rob really appreciates it. We can all we all felt that tingle in our heart when you were speaking. So thank you so much for your presentation, your emotion, and just being who you are. So thank you so much.
Thank you.
Okay, and so our next guest is none other than the man who his Twitter handle is Way of the Master 7. He calls himself or goes by the Resilient Journey. One of honestly the nicest guys I've ever met. If you've ever had a conversation with him, even if it's via DMs, just how kind and gentle, a true gentleman is Joe. So Joe, welcome. Thank you so much. I remember your response when I DM'd you about joining us for this event. Everybody said the same thing. We love Rob. What can we do? How can we help? So Joe, teach us how you not only trade, but live the strat.
Okay, well, I'm hoping that my signal holds out. We've kind of had spotty signal here today, so I just hope everything holds out and my connection issue stays connected here. But what a great testimony from Sarah. I mean, her testimony is pretty much the mirror of the majority of people who trade the strat, and myself included. And, if it wasn't for Rob teaching the strat, then, I might not even be trading still today. And if I was, it wouldn't be as profitable as I could have been. His teaching is, for some, it's how do you say it? In the beginning, it was frustrating because he was right about most of the trades that I was trading, and the problem was that I was on the backside of those trades, and he was calling them and saying, "Ha, I bet you're getting killed if you're on this side of it," or whatever. And in the beginning, it was frustrating because I was listening to what he was saying, and And as I grew and started accepting what Rob was teaching, it really opened my eyes to what was actually happening. Because my whole trading career, I'd heard people say, follow the price action, follow the price action. Well, nobody could define the price action the way that Rob did. And there is no other way, in my opinion, of defining price action. It literally is all it can be. In fact, it's funny. My wife and I, we tease. I don't hear any numbers over 3 anymore. I hear 1, 2, and 3, and that's it. There is no 4, there is no 5. But yeah, thank you for that great testimony from Sarah. Sarah, that was beautiful. I mean, I've been thinking about this all week, and I tear up thinking about how trading the strat has changed the way that I live in my personal life. Because the whole reason that I got into trading was to spend more time with my family, and to be able to enjoy the things that I love to do, that I couldn't do before outside of that. And so,
all right, let me pop in here real quick. I am not Joe Hawkins. His connection was lost, but I have him back on again. Let's see if we can get him pulled back up. Sorry about this. But that's all right. We'll get him going. There we go. There we go. All right. I know he's got to get his mic situated here, so I'm going to fill in just a little bit just to keep this thing going. I'll bring up STRATalooza as well because we got to get him. There's no audio there. That's okay because we're going to fill it in for you there, Joe. And I think you're pulling in some audio, unless that was STRATalooza.
Yep, I'm here.
Okay. All right. Let's be a little patient here. Because that's the key, right? He's talking about living the strat. You got to be patient with trading. So this not only is patience in trading, but patience in anything you do every day is gonna be, that's what trading teaches you. You're gonna learn a lot about yourself. You gotta persevere, move forward. You're gonna take some L's sometimes. But let's see, Joe, you there?
yeah, can you hear me now?
Oh, all right, there we go. Gotcha. All right, take it away.
Okay. Yeah, sorry about that. Connection is really shoddy today. It's super cloudy here, and it's been storming all night. But anyway, yeah. So you were mentioning patience there. It's really, each person is going to be different. And each trader is going to be different in how they learn. And so, don't get frustrated if you're new to this. And thinking that you're going to learn it in 3 months or 6 months or 8 months because you're comparing yourself to somebody that did. Just be patient and learn the process. And once you have that process, you can apply or be taught discipline for a specific setup when trading. You still got me there?
Yes, we do. Yeah, we got you. You're good. Testing. Yep, you're good. We could hear you.
OG, can you still hear me?
So, yeah, I got you. You're good. You're good. You can keep talking. I don't know if you can't hear me, but you're good to go. All right. No, you're good. We could hear that cough. It was a pretty nice cough right there. So I'm not sure why he can't hear us right now.
Hey guys, are you there?
I pulled you up. And I'm not sure if he can hear you. I'm just going to tell him, yes, keep going.
Yep,
sorry,
you
can hear
Joe.
my clickety clack. So the keyboard, wow, that's pretty loud. I got to get used to this mechanical keyboard or get the mic a little bit further away from it. All right, Joe, you should be good. You're good to go. Otherwise, if we're going to continue to have issues, maybe we can bring Joe back on. We'll just continue to keep him in the green room and communicate with him back there rather than taking up some extra time over here. Who else we got coming on? Who's next?
Okay, thank you very much, Joe. Just a testimonial for Joe there. He's outside in the cold and battling through these connectivity issues. Just goes to show you how much and how important Rob is to all of us. For somebody to be able to stand outside and do whatever they can just to be a part of it. I know how forward Joe was looking to being here live in person. So if we can get him back on later, that would be fantastic. But next up, we do have our sponsors for this event. We have TrendSpider. So we've got David Yoakum, and is Dan available, or did he have to?
Yeah, I'm here.
All right. So welcome. For those of you that are not familiar with TrendSpider, TrendSpider is the only platform that has the Strat built in. So I will pass the floor on to Dave and Dan, who will tell us about all of the new cool stuff that they've got coming up. And then I will give out the details for the giveaways after their presentation. So Dave, Dan, welcome. Thank you so much for joining us. Please take the floor. It is all yours.
Awesome. Well, thanks for putting it on. Should I share my screen or should I just jump in? What's the best way to go?
Yep, right. By all means, if you want to share your screen, feel free to do so.
All right. So, I was asked to come on and show off some of the Strat specific capabilities in TrendSpider. Before I do that, just briefly, I'll never forget the first time I met Rob. I lived like 4 blocks from his office. Right. So I met him on Twitter and walked over there one day and I was like, hey, what's up? And I walk in and the guy's got like 20 monitors. Right. And I was really impressed because Rob could you could be like, where's Apple? And he'd be like, over here. All right. And he'd be like spot on, right? Like pointing at the Apple chart without even looking. He's one of the most genuine people I know. And his, methodology of the Strat is one of the more honest and easy to follow strategies I've come across, right? When you build trading software, you come across a lot of strategies. Some of them are great. Most of them are absolutely god awful, right? So, I just wanted to throw that out there, a little shout out to Rob, because I'm a big fan. So with that out of the way, let me jump in and I'm going to show you guys a few different features in TrendSpider that are built specifically for the Strat. These exist to make it easier to trade the Strat and make it easier to find opportunities and to capitalize on those opportunities. So there's going to be 5 different things that I'm going to touch on. And I'll start with the very basic one, right, which is automated numbering. And this is an indicator this is the first thing we built for the Strat, right? And it's a very simple built-in indicator where you can select the candle numbers you care about. Right. Some people care about twos up and downs. Right. I usually focus on 1s and 3s and let the 2s kind of materialize in my mind. But it's really up to the user what they want to show in their chart and how they want to show it on their chart. The nice thing is it's automatic and it happens in real time. So as new candles form, it throws a number on them. Right. You can have it color them differently so that, a 3 is yellow, a 1 is below. Right. Like you can customize it fully. And that's really helpful, right? Because a lot of the problem I had with the Strat when I first learned about it was, figuring out what is a 1 or a 2 or a 3. Like I hadn't internalized that in my mind yet. So when I looked at a chart, I would have to stare at it for a minute and be like, okay, does the high exceed the high of the previous candle, right? Like I'd have to do that in my head each time. And this makes it super easy. You just turn it on and it's just there and you can just see it on your chart in real time as it happens. So that's the first thing. You get that by clicking on indicators in the top, and then just you can just type the Strat into here and just click on it. It's right there, and it'll add it to your chart, and you can just see it however you want to see it. Next thing that's very related to that, but a little bit different, is we have almost all of the Strat's candle patterns built into TrendSpider. So when you click on candle patterns at the top, I'll turn indicators off to get a better view. right? And you click the 3 dots. Oops, wrong one. If you click the 3 dots next to candle patterns, there's this little filter here, and you can actually select the strat from that list, and it'll have, I believe, like 50 or so different strat patterns built right in. So I'll just pick a few random ones here, right, and turn it on, and you can see that it will highlight them on your chart for you automatically. So you don't have to sit there and do that next step of computation, right? It's now not just, is it a 3 or a 1 or a 2 up or a 2 down, but now it's like, is it a continuation, 3 different candles in a particular row? And this gives you a very quick way to see that on your chart. Another really cool thing about this, let me just pick a couple. I picked a bunch there, but I'll pick just a couple here. Right. Another really cool thing about this is you can use this in conjunction with what we call MTFA. And MTFA stands for multi-time frame analysis. And what this lets you do is add a second time period to your chart. Right. And what's cool is this is a 2 down, 2 down, right? It's a 2D, 2D pattern, right? But it's a 2D, 2D on the monthly chart. And I'm looking at a daily chart right now. This is the candle action that happened on the daily time frame that made a 2 down, 2 down on the monthly time frame. It lets you kind of zoom in and see what's going on inside of the pattern, right? And you can have the intraday, or both time frames up at once. You can see these are 2Ds, and then this is a 2D, 2D monthly. So that's automated pattern recognition, and it's built right in. You don't have to do anything to add it. There's no indicators to install, no code to copy and paste. It's just there, and you can just use it. Next thing I want to touch on is full time frame continuity. If you trade the strat, that you know that one of the things you want to look for is for all your time frames to kind of be going in the same direction. There are scripts written for other platforms that tell you this, right? You copy and paste the code, or you find the script and you install it. In TrendSpider, we have a feature called the Smart Checklist. And the Smart Checklist is exactly what it sounds like. You can create any set of conditions you want. So, for example, this is a full time frame continuity checklist. It has 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 time frames on it. And each one is configured that the price close is greater than the price close of the previous candle, right? So when you choose this script, it just shows it to you on the chart, on this area here, and you can just see it as you're browsing charts. You don't have to flip around or do anything to like see, is it heading up on the daily time frame, flip to the monthly, flip to the 65-minute or whatever, right? You can compute that for you automatically. And I believe TrendSpider comes with a number of presets for this, right? So it's got like short term, long term, it's got all of them. So you can just choose whichever one you want and put it on. Leo, buddy, I'm on the phone. Sorry, my kid is running around the room right now. So that's full time frame continuity. Next thing that a lot of strat traders look for is broadening formations, right? This is something that a lot of people talk about. And, a lot of times there's some fuzziness to it. Like, is it a broadening formation? Is it not? So we have something called fractal trends that is built into TrendSpider. It is an indicator, and it will identify broadening formations on your chart for you automatically. So you don't have to do anything. You just turn it on, and it's going to pick them up on your chart for you. Leo, buddy, go over there. Sorry, my kid's going a little crazy here. So that's broadening formations. And then after that, last thing I'll show you guys, and then I'll stop rambling here, is scanning. Because scanning is truly robust in TrendSpider. When you click on the market scanner on the top, you can then tell it to search the market for any kind of pattern or combination of patterns that you might dream up. So here you can actually go in and say candlestick patterns, daily, 3, 1, 2, up, right? So we can then search for a 3, 1, 2 up, and then we can tell it where to search. So we can say, okay, search for a 3, 1, 2 up in the Russell 2000, right? And when you push this button, it will actually search the Russell 2000 and try to find any 3, 1, 2 ups that exist in that index. So that's an automated capability. It's built right in. And these things together, when you use them together, they can make using a strat as your trading strategy a lot easier, a lot simpler, right? You don't have to think as much. You can just see and react, which is what the strat is all about. There's a bunch of other stuff that relates to the strat, some of it in the platform, some of it coming soon. One of the things that's coming very soon is instant hit alerts. This is something that you can use with Sarah's 50% rule or, with a high, but you can basically say, hey, fire an alert when this happens, when price crosses this level. that works with real tick data direct from the exchanges. So it's super duper fast. And a really cool thing about alerts in TrendSpider, I'll actually show you guys this briefly. But when you're creating an alert, you can trigger a webhook with it, right? And you can use a webhook to trigger an order in a brokerage account. So you can just like right click here and say on breakthrough, let me know, but also place an order in my brokerage account when this happens. So that can save you a little bit of time and help you snipe positions a little bit better. So that's it. Tried to keep it short and sweet. If anyone wants to try TrendSpider, I think there's some kind of offer tied to this. And thank you very much, guys. I appreciate it.
Yeah, so I appreciate you guys having me as well. As Dan mentioned, we have a ton of nice features within the platform. Wanted to share my chart and also show a little bit about my style and how I incorporate TrendSpider into what I use. So I'm going to work on sharing my screen here and just go over the basics. Before I get there, though, I did want to thank Rob, Sarah, everyone in this chat that has helped grow the community over time. It's definitely something that helped me in my trading, especially when it comes to management. So going to go ahead and screen here. It looks off there. Let me try one more time. Be lagged out here. Oh, there we go. Sorry about that. I was my screen got frozen there. So let me share this again. See if that pops up. So here's the main chart. As Dan showed, we have the normal indicator to show. I did also have seasonality and time frame continuity over here on the right side. So I use it along with the platform and my trading style. So here I have a click. They're going to be a pattern. So what I see here is a very strong bearish 3 down on APA. So I like to incorporate it with trends outside of the strat. So I kind of mix styles. But the best thing I like to use with the strat that I think is probably the best part is the risk management. I've seen it from Jermaine, Sarah, everyone else in this chat. The risk management really is what separates good traders from bad. And being able to know cut losses under here is going to create a 3 down if you were long. That's great to have in your toolkit. Helps you save money. So this is kind of how I incorporate it. Like I said, go through all the different scans. I do use trend lines. I know Jermaine would probably hurt me if I said that to him and the other stratters, but just really overall, very nice to use within the platform. Being able to incorporate it with seasonality, especially if you're someone that looks at monthly time frame. Yeah, so that's really about the basics. The last thing I did want to mention, as Dan mentioned, were our alerts. So being able to set these lines here horizontal for the stratters. Dan mentioned also we are coming out with the live or instant alerts, which we're all super excited about. It's going to let you know instantly when you should be cutting a trade. So just creating alerts. This is what I use for my risk management. Just get a text or email to let me know that the trade's not going in my favor. So that's kind of how I incorporate the strat into it, and really appreciate you guys having us on. And it's a pleasure to be a part of the Strat family.
Thank you, Dave and Dan. Much appreciated. Those are some really cool features. I know I'm in the process of migrating myself over to TrendSpider. I was using TradingView for quite some time, but with all of the cool tools that you guys have, especially with the scanning capabilities and these instant alerts that are coming up, definitely a very powerful tool that I'm looking to incorporate into my personal trading as well. So thank you so much. Guys, stay tuned for details that we will release after the event ends on how you would be able to qualify for some of our giveaways. So TrendSpider has been very gracious in offering, and Dave, you can confirm this if I'm right or not. It's 2 3-month subscriptions to TrendSpider.
Yep.
So if you're not using TrendSpider right now, you have an opportunity to win one of these, along with some other cool Strat swag. We've got some Rob-isms mugs that we'll be offering off as well. So please stay tuned for that information. Thank you again, David and Dan, and we look to continuing our relationship with TrendSpider. You know, they are our favorite platform as Stratters because you guys have built it right into the software itself. So thank you so much for being such a big part and an integral part of the Strat community, and we look forward to working with you guys in the future.
Appreciate it. Thanks for having us.
All right. Okay, and so we have our next guest is one of my favorite Stratters. She doesn't know this, but I'm a big fan of Dee Dee Edwards. Again, some of her interviews are ones that I watched early on. She's sort of silent on social media. You don't hear much from her, but when you do hear from her, it's always good content. It's valuable. So welcome, Dee Dee. Please take the floor. I've got nothing else to say. It's all you.
Hello, everybody. Hi to all the Stratters. I know I have been silent for a while. I have so many other things going on. When you asked if I would be interested in partaking in this special event for Rob, I was elated. I was actually traveling, but I'm with Sarah. Wow. So you guys know my story. I don't know if I want to repeat that again here. But what I will share is that when I decided to try to figure this trading thing out for myself as a business, I had gone to, I had used this service before. This was Rob's other company that we won't mention. And I was trading Forex at the time. So I was trading with one of the guys there, and I still trade Forex. But I knew that because I had just had some surgery and my dad was ill. And I said, I need to come up with a way to make money in the interim because I may not go back to work. And so I found Rob on that other site that we won't, on that other company we won't mention. And immediately it made sense. I'm a very analytical person. My background is IT and finance. And it immediately made sense, but I couldn't figure out how to trade it. And that's where watching Rob's videos and sitting in his room for a couple years, and like Sarah, it didn't automatically click. I understood the concept, but I was still struggling with how do I profit from using the 1, 2, 3. And then as time went on, Rob and his genius, and I think what most people miss out on that broad information, he alluded to that earlier at the open. And I think a lot of people don't think so much about broad informations. And so just as I am quiet in social media, I was quiet in Rob's room as well. So I wasn't sitting there asking him a bunch of questions, but instead I was just listening and processing information, watching his videos, using multiple time frames, trying to figure out, okay, how do I make this work? And what I will tell you is as time passed, and I have paid an enormous amount of money over the years, been doing this for over 20 years, trying to come up with the right strategy. And what I will share with you, and why, like Sarah, I just love Rob and what he has done for this community, is that he has a caring nature. Whether you are a believer or not, what comes from him is so genuine. When I look at all of the stuff that I hear on social media about some of these guys in their trading rooms and how people have lost money and taken money or just really mistreated some of their followers, I thought about, it's like, you may not agree with everything Rob says, but he is very open. You can trust what he's saying. Um, he's a listener. And I just want you to know, Rob, that I love you. I appreciate everything you've done for us in the Strat community. And so with that, I just I'm supposed to talk about broadening formations. Rob is the master. He's the godfather. He can share that with you. I'll share with you guys a couple things that I've kind of incorporated, kind of like OG, in terms of using the VWAP. I actually use CCI, or Commodity Channel Index. And so disable that. I'm trying to share here. Maybe that doesn't work. Can you guys see hold on. Okay. Can you guys see my screen or no?
Can't see your screen, TD.
I'm sorry. Was that a yes or no?
No.
Okay. So I'm having some challenges here, I think, with my stream. It's not allowing me to share. Hang on. Let's see if we can get this going. It's going to require me to update some permissions, which I won't take the time to try to do right now. I thought I had this set up properly. I apologize. But here's what I'll say. When it comes to broadening formations, I think that when you're drawing them, first of all, you have to, broadening formations are a series of higher highs and lower lows. So you understand that in a general term. I think if you watch my video, I talk about drawing them on an outside bar or 3. There's a reason for that. It's just easier to identify. It doesn't mean that you have to draw all your broadening formations on a 3 or an outside bar. They're just easier to identify. And so when you're drawing those broadening formations, I typically like to use a longer time frame, because you have to think about if you're inside a 60 or 90, I like the 90-minute. If you're inside that 60 or 90, you're likely going to get chopped up. So you want to draw those broadening formations on higher time frames, 60 or above. If you're trading, if I trade swing trade, which is what I do, I swing trade, I day trade, I trade equities, options, as well as Forex and common. And so the strategy I use is the same across all of those. Like OG, I use CCI and I call it my buy zone. If the commodity channel index is above 0, then I'm looking for longs. If the commodity channel index is below 0, then I am looking for shorts. So that's my bias, right? So I have a long bias or a short bias. Think about when the market opens. One of the biggest lessons I got from Rob, and you hear him say it if you're in his room, let the market open. A lot of times we want to jump into the market and start trading, and you don't realize you're probably inside the prior day's candle. And that could be a 60-minute candle, 30-minute candle, or even a 5-minute candle. So you want to be able to gauge magnitude by allowing the market to open. I prefer that first 15 minutes or so to see which direction the market is going to go. And I don't know if STRATalooza, if you can pull up like yesterday's QQQs. I just want to give you guys an idea of what the chart looked like yesterday, Thursday, Friday. So when the market opens and your 30-minute candle.
Hey, DD, not to cut you off real quick, but I don't think STRATalooza is set up to bring up his charts. So I'll bring them up for you, okay?
Okay, thanks, hon.
Okay. Yep.
Perfect.
So if you look at the cues and you see that 30-minute candle, to put on a 30-minute time frame, and I know a lot of folks trade the 30s. So what I like to do is look at the 6-minute
And
and
which
the
chart would you like me to pull up?
QQQs.
QQQ. Okay.
Yeah.
On the 30. Let me get my indicators off here so that we're not talking. I'm cleaning it up. Just give me 1
Yeah,
second.
no worries.
All right.
Do you throw CCI up there?
I'm not sure whether they have it on TrendSpider.
they
I'm sure
have
they
it.
probably do. Okay, so
Yeah, it's
they have
standard.
it. Let me pull it up. It's CCI.
Yeah.
CCI, Commodity Channel
There
Index.
you go.
Any changes in the settings at all?
No, standard.
Okay. All right. Apply. Okay. All right. Got it.
All right,
Let me
perfect.
brighten up that line just real quick, just because it's hard to see. Line. I'm just going to go with bright yellow, and we'll increase that a little bit. Sorry. I just want it to be clear. Okay. There we go.
There you go. Perfect.
Mhm.
Okay, so what I want you guys to look at is on Friday, you can see how we have this doji on the 30-minute, and then it went inside. If you're trading on that 30-minute candle and you're drawing those broadening formations, I typically like to draw them if I'm day trading. I like to draw them on the 90 or 4-hour, so a longer time frame. But you'll see, well, if you allow price to open, price is going to trade down to that level, which I call broadening formation pivots, and then reverse. So we want to take the opportunity to let the market open to see which direction the market is going to go. And if you will look at your CCI, and this is what helps me, you see how CCI starts to trend up? What that says to me is that the market is likely starting to reverse. So let the market open, allow it to kind of settle in, consolidate now inside that 30, and then you see your move on that inside 30 and up. And so the biggest challenge, what I hear from a lot of traders, they haven't determined which time frame they want to trade on. All right, so I use the 6-minute to enter into that trade if I'm on the 30 or I like the 18, but I use my 6-minute to enter on that time frame. Dan has added the 6-minute time frame to his charts. I did not know that. Dan, I appreciate that. I may have to go back and take another look at TrendSpider, guys. So now you can see my CCI on the shorter time frame. Now that's trading above 0, confirming my bias position off that 30-minute flip. I take that off that inside 30. You take that move off that inside 6 right there. It triangles you out. I'm looking at my CCI. It's still good. It is trending up, guys. Comes in a little bit. Now, if I were drawing my broadening formation, I would have drawn that on the longer time frame, which was a 90-minute, and you would have seen that price action traded right up to that 90-minute time frame. There you go. And so if you were to draw that broadening formation from the prior day, it traded right up to that 90-minute time frame. Hard to see that
I
there.
probably did not draw your broadening formation. I think I may have used the 3s from pre-market. So I'm looking at the
I was going to say
90.
that does not look like my chart, but that does look
So
like pre-market.
let me go ahead and take
There you
out that
go.
pre-market. So now it'll look a little cleaner.
Okay, and I would
I'm
have
trying to
drawn
keep up
that.
with you because I mean you've got this. All right, let me delete. I'm cleaning it up. I'm trying to do my best for you here. All right, let's
Draw
just,
that, not from that, the high. Draw it from the
this high.
2 up.
Okay, gotcha.
2 up on that 90, right there. There you go.
There you go.
And draw it back to I would have drawn it to the back, to that next candle down. So draw it from that high of that
from this
candle,
3
right there.
to
Yeah,
the 2.
there you go. Those
Okay.
2 lines.
All right.
Yep.
Gotcha.
Bam. All right. So that's where, guys, if you're trading, don't miss the broad information component of your strategy. Allow the market to open up to help you to gauge which direction the market is going to go. And then, of course, in my case, I use CCI to help with CCI is a momentum indicator, right? So it doesn't tell you where price is going. It just simply helps to guide, help me guide which way it looks like it's going to move, but it doesn't tell you where it's going. Okay. And then it is a lagging indicator, and you can see there that reversal after it went inside and 2 up and outside, and then 3, 2 down. And you see CCI also starts to trend down as well. And then it makes its move at the very end of the day. And so, yeah, so guys, I think to Sarah's point earlier, there's a lot of, I think, misinformation. Thank you, OG. There's a lot of misinformation about the strat, and I think it's just because people haven't taken the time to understand the truth is the truth. But then there's a lot of other nuances of ways in which you can, or indicators, if you will, and no. David, you don't have to worry. That's a germane thing, strat indicator hater. But but I tell you that there are ways that you can build upon the foundation of the strat to help you profit from it. And so I just want to say thank you. I appreciate you guys allowing me to share in this moment. And the Godfather, I hate that rose sitting there. He's not dead. He is yet alive. Thanks, everybody. I appreciate it.
Dee Dee. As always, Dee Dee's always insightful. She's been trading for, over 2 decades. Her and I remember Steve Neeson's early works from like the early 2000s. For those of you that are new to candlesticks, Steve Neeson is the one that brought candlesticks from Asia to North America. And of course, candlesticks are what we use to trade the strat. But Rob has taken candlesticks to a different level with, just simplifying it right down to the 1s, the 2s, and the 3s. And that's really all we need. For those of us that are, old school, technicians, we remember all sorts of patterns, the 3 crows and the bearish and bullish haramis and the engulfings and the piercing patterns and whatnot. We don't need to remember all of those anymore. It's really just as simple as, the 1s, the 2s, the 3s, the 4 Cs, and we've got our broadening formations, gauging magnitude, etc. But it also goes to show you how the strat customizes itself to your style of trading. Dee Dee uses the CCI. I personally use the TTM squeeze. I'm an options trader, so that's beneficial for me in the way that I trade. But just absolutely fantastic. Always great to see you and hear from you, Dee Dee. Don't be a stranger. We appreciate you coming out to show your love and support for Rob. Again, Dee Dee is one of the old school OG stratters, so we love to hear from her whenever we can. So next up, we do have Ramon, the range master. But before we bring him on, there were unfortunately a few individuals who were planning on being with us here today who were not able to due to extenuating circumstances. The first one is Mighty Soldiers, Andy from Mighty Soldiers Trading. He is live in the chat. He's been gracious enough to share some words. We'll share his video later as well. He's okay with us sharing it. But I will go ahead and I will read off both his comments as well as Jim Bradley's. Jim Bradley is currently, I think he's in flight somewhere. I don't even know where he is. He's flying. He's in the air right now, if I'm not mistaken. But he did send us a video, which unfortunately we're not able to share live, but we will post to Twitter later. And I will read off his comments as well. So first up, I will read off Andy's comments. Andy, I will do my best to read this sort of with the emotion that I know you had written it with. So I'll go right ahead and dive into it. So Andy says, "What can I say? Rob Smith is a huge part of this community, and I'm really glad to have met him. Rob has introduced me to so many amazing people in my life. It's super impressive how Rob has put together a trading strategy that is the complete package and eliminates all the garbage you find out there. I was going to talk about discipline and humility in trading, but the strat teaches us to cut our losers quick, raise our stops, and let our winners run. It's amazing how the strat has grown into so many platforms. I can't wait to buy Rob's official The Strat book when it comes out. Rob, we're definitely waiting for that. I'm really sorry that I couldn't attend today, but thanks so much, Rob, for all you do and all you've done for me personally. As for new traders just starting their journey, you're in the right place. Many of the problems I had when I first started trading could have been prevented if I would have followed the strat. As the strat soldier says often, keep your stops tight. Learning to lose is the most powerful lesson I've learned in my trading journey. Rob and the strat also teach us to wait for actionable signals and confirm those signals with full time frame continuity or multiple time frame analysis. But one of the things about the strat is you are all looking at the same setup, aka actionable signals. One of the most difficult parts in the beginning of my career was learning what setups worked for me. Inside bars or scenario ones give some of the easiest signals in the trading world. I'm definitely not a strat expert, but I recommend anyone and everyone to follow Rob and the strat. I'll do anything I can to help. I appreciate you so much, Rob. Thanks again for everything." That is from Mighty Soldier Andy. So thank you so much, Andy. Thank you, Rob. And just great to hear from Andy. I know he wishes he could be here live with us. Well, he is live here with us, but he's not on camera. So those kind words were from Andy. Rob, did you have anything that you wanted to say? Not sure if he's on the mic.
I'm almost speechless. I'm really moved by what everybody's saying today, and I'll get to it when it's back to my chance. But I'll say this a lot. To God be the glory. I'm just the messenger. I just tell people the truth, and it's up to them to listen to it. As well as I was going to save this for later, but since Andy was on, to our veterans, Andy being one of them, OG being one of them, Strat Soldier and active duty, and the Army Navy game on right now. That I want to be thankful for all of you, and really, I'm taken aback. I'm used to, all right, here's the strat, and here's this, and whenever people have been so kind, just always remember I'm just a messenger, but I really appreciate all the kind words today, and let's keep going. We've got a lot more to, good stuff to go. So.
All right. Well, thank you, Rob, as always. Next up, I will read some comments from Jim Bradley. For those of you that aren't familiar with Lightning Jim, he trades the 1 minute chart. He also does some swing trading. He wanted me to make sure that I mentioned that. But he is he's well known in the strat and trading world for his 5-second trades, 8-second trades. The level of focus and mental fortitude that is required to be able to trade the position size that he does on such a short time frame just really speaks to his skills as a trader, but also how he uses the strat, right? He's very particular. He's very open and transparent. You can see all of his tweets and his trades online. So I'll go ahead and just read that off. With much love and respect, I am here to pay tribute to the creator of the most powerful price action analysis that has ever graced the financial world. I submit for your perusal that God has blessed us all with the strat. As a trader and a mindset mentor, we must be cognizant of price action in such a way that we can be defensive once we have elected to enter a trade with proper position sizing. It is only by having the strat as your process and relentlessly adhering to it with strict discipline that you will succeed. Have per trade max losses and daily max losses. Let's always respect Rob. Thankful for his addition to the world. Thank you, Jim. If you're watching this recording, or if you're happening to listen live wherever you are, we do appreciate those comments. And Rob, did you want to say anything, or did you want to hop back on later?
Yeah, what I'll say is that, like I said, I'm very moved. And Jim, I've known for a while, and he was not a natural. And it might seem like he is, but he wasn't. It took a while, but he got through it. When I first met him, there was a lot of things going on, and I'm happy that I have personal relationship with so many people too. And as the strat gets bigger, that gets more difficult. It's like there's only so much time in the day, but he's amazing. And as I say, with someone like him, that not everybody's going to be able to do that, right? And the good thing about those longer term time frames is that he might be able to do it in a few seconds. But when we look at the longer time frames, like I'm going to do here at the end here with the macro stuff, it's all the same, right? As we say, things are going to customize itself to you. Don't think you're going to be like him. That is what I tell people. I'm like, you can learn from him, and then you change those time frames and take them to longer time frames and slow it down. Not everybody can just go bang it out like that. So that's what I'd say. Love Jim. He's been a great friend. He's been a great teacher, and not much more I could say. He goes out of his way. He doesn't have to do this. And like I said, for everybody that's here today didn't have to be here. Everybody who teaches a strat on their own doesn't have to do it, and yet they do. So on that note, you take it away. We got some more good stuff coming.
Thank you, Rob. Our next guest, the Range Master. If you have ever heard our next guest, Ramon Del Villar Jr., speak, you know that your mind is just about to be blown. The way he looks at range and just speaks about how prices aggregate is definitely something to behold. So without further ado, Ramon, I see you got your smoke there. Let's go, man. Let's go. Welcome.
I would
Take it away.
be remiss. I would be remiss now. There's a very unhealthy trademark, kids. A friend of mine said, don't ever start doing something that don't start. That's my answer. Actually very, very inspired hearing these words from these other, especially like what Rob said. We're all in different parts of success in general. It's a process. There's always the goalposts are always moving. You've got something down really well, whether then or your execution or your cycle. There's something that's just what you're going to use to build closer and closer to this horizon that you're now. But hopefully, and I think I have to give a lot of credit to Andy, Mighty Soldiers Trades. I ran into him in a group, and he appreciated some of the contracts. So he was the one that brought me to Rob. I remember how long ago, maybe 3 years ago, something like that. Oh no, is my sound choppy? I hope you guys can you hear me okay? It's my connection. Well, I don't know. When I came across, I was not one of the lead got it. It took me. Okay, let me see.
Okay, as we get his audio figured out, Stratolorian, you're on as well.
Okay.
His audio it's his
Okay,
connection right now, and we were aware of it. But That's because he's trying to stream soccer games. Probably, I don't know what he's got going on over there. But we got his. There you go. Yeah. Your
There we
connection
go. We can
doesn't
hear him.
lag when we're talking crap now.
better?
But yeah. All right.
Uh,
Okay, here we go. You take it away.
okay. I'm gonna keep trying. All right. So, let me turn it down so that it's not like feeding back. Okay. So what I was saying was, and I want to give major props to him. But I wasn't one of those folks that like got it right away. There's like all these layers of knowledge that are involved. I needed to, a lot of this stuff, like I needed to be able to see it in front of my face to be able to understand what it meant and how to use it and whatnot. And even though I'm not, I do have a little bit of a programming background, and I had been playing around with a lot of ThinkScript, and so I started to write these studies for Thinkorswim just to be able to like visualize it and just to be able to understand it better and to what do you call it? To see it. And as I was writing the studies, some of these were they started out pretty simple, and then they started getting more and more complex. And it was a journey. As I was doing that, I was also making these videos on YouTube, and I don't know if you want to look at my YouTube channel. There were like tutorials on how to use the studies. A lot of folks that saw those and that were using the studies were very appreciative and said, "Hey, why don't you do some tutorials about the strat itself?" And I gotta say, there's nothing better, or at least in my journey, there was nothing better for learning the strat than teaching it. And so, thank you, Rob. That was something else that always really impressed me, was the fact that there's a mountain of knowledge out there that Rob puts out just for free. And I was able to avail myself of all of that and of his original course and all of that. And so I started to teach it, and the more I taught it, the more some of these Robisms kind of took on a life of their own, because people would ask me to explain things like, what does Rob mean when he says price doesn't move, it aggregates, or price discovery takes place along a series of Robs. I was teaching this to folks, and as I was writing the studies themselves, some of these things started to click, and it led me down the road that I'm on now, which is to study range. And so I don't want to repeat everything that I said in that interview with Jermaine, but I do want to touch on some of the highlights. And this is all tied to the strat with the broadening formation phenomenon, and the fact that price aggregates. So I'm going to try to see. Allow. Let's see if y'all can see this. Can you see that right there, what I'm showing? I'm going to go to the YouTube here and see if it's showing.
Yeah, Ramon, you're good. You're good. We can see
sure
it.
If y'all can see that.
You're good.
Okay, so what you're seeing here is
Hey, Ramon, I'm not sure if your connection is going to be able to handle doing the talking and the video and the screen sharing. So hopefully you can hear me. We're having a little bit of a lag coming from your end over there. We see the shiny head, but the closer you get to your screen doesn't make it any better. Just kidding. Straddler, and you're on too, because we're gonna fill this a little bit. I know he's on a roll. When you see his shiny head there like that, you know that he's in the zone and he's really looking at price aggregation. Just letting you know. So hopefully he can hear us right now, because I know he turned down his volume. You can see him just feverishly going with his mouse. Like, yes. I know he's dropping some knowledge bombs right now, but we can't hear you, Ramon. Liz, look at the chat, man.
So I think what we'll do is, because we've got a few other people. Joe had submitted a video after his connection cut out. What we might do is get Ramon to also record what he was going to say, because it looks like he's going, but he can't hear us.
Oh, he's on a roll.
He's definitely on a roll. I can see him starting to sweat and everything, and he's
yeah.
his brain is firing on all cylinders, and he
Just
is just absolutely killing it. I wish I could be
see
hearing
the
what he's
smoke
saying.
coming from his ears.
Yeah. So Ramon, if you can hear us, he's laughing. I don't know if you can hear.
Yeah, he's laughing. Hey, you're showing the
you're
magic
showing-
behind the curtain. All right, I'm stopping sharing your screen right now.
All
right,
good. All
Ramon,
good.
yeah, and it just froze right there. That is an absolutely amazing image. If anybody can screenshot that right now, put it up on Twitter and just kind of
yeah, we need
give
that
him a
for
shout
later.
right there.
We definitely need that for later.
Awesome. Oh man, I even see Dee Dee in the green room right now, just laughing her butt off right now. The blind trader's just watching right now, just checking them out. So we do have more people in the wings, STRATalurian. Ramon, if you're sticking around, go ahead and stick around, and we'll see if we can get a better connection. But I can't hear you. At least your picture is getting much more clear, and you can definitely see. You have a lot of very good still pictures on this. I'm just letting you know. But thank you so much, Ramon. Please, if you can, maybe record a little something for us to be able to share on social media and get you guys. Yeah, I can't hear you, unfortunately. I'm sorry. Something's going on with your mic. But what is the episode number there? I know we were doing a little bit of homework last night. Do you know the episode where Ramon was did his interview with Strat Soldier?
I don't. It was actually one of the next ones I was going to put on my list. I have Mike's,
okay.
Ryan's, Joe's, Dee Dee's. I didn't
Awesome.
I didn't get to Ramon's, but we will definitely share that. If you are going to watch it, make sure that you have a pen and piece of paper. And I know sometimes I watch things at like 1.5, 2 times speed. With Ramon's, you're going to have to watch it at like half speed just to be able to, absorb all of this information that he's going to be dropping on you. So thank you, Ramon. We will get you to record something a bit later. And of course, we will share that interview that you had done with Strat Soldier. Did we want to bring Sarah on for her to say her goodbyes?
I believe she already took out. And so some of our
Okay.
audio is breaking up. When you're trying to do logistics, trying to bring 10 plus people on this thing, sometimes your connection can't handle it. Right now it says that we have a healthy stream. However, the bit rate that is going out right now is a little slower than YouTube wants. So we'll see what's going on here. STRATalurian, what were you bringing up?
Okay, so I was going to see. So our next speaker was supposed to be Ramon. I'm just trying to get Ryan Faluna in here. But actually, while we're waiting for Ryan, what we'll do is Rob there? If Rob is there, can we get Rob to come on and do? Hey, Rob. Okay, so while we're trying to get Ryan online, can we go ahead and get you to do your macro review for 2022 and what to look for 2023?
You
Any
bet.
comments
So,
and insights that you have?
recommendation to anybody. It's like I don't like living in the city, but I got gig speed, boy. so that's why my connection's pretty good. So let me go up and share my screen again. And the thing I like about when I started doing the strat, and you guys can see my screen. I can see me, but you see this? There we go. Okay, so I'll shrink it down so you can see it better. But one of the things that I've loved about being at Sepia Group, and when I started talking about the strat, and once again, I'm so moved by everybody who came out, is presenting, as well as everybody in the chat. This is really a moving day for me. I can't even explain that. But anyway, that I always wanted to say that I want everything I've ever said to be documented. You'll see guys on Twitter that'll pull out and be like, you remember 3 months ago when I said that thing looked pretty good and then it went up? I'm like, yeah, no. Yeah, no. Here's your 50 losers, right? So that's what I like about it. Everything's recorded. We were the macro vid has been money all year, and I'm going to show that to you if you're not familiar with it. I even reiterated a bunch of it. If you haven't seen my Vegas presentation with Benzinga, Lupton Capital, talked about it then, and it's still working. So what we had was, oops, there we go. So what we had was, what had happened was, I talked about this earlier about, once the SPY, sure we can see this. Oops. Once the SPY started to break here, we were looking for the outside year. Then we got it, right? So now, as we start into the new year, how are we going to get outside of this? The key here was stuff that, might be beating a dead horse, but should I say beating a rich horse? QQQ. Doing the 2 up, 2 down year, right? Talked about this all year. So we had the good short side, Netflix, 2-2 reversal year. Now the problem is, how do you not be an inside year coming into the new year, right? And I'll get to the macro video at the end of the year, but how are you going to get out of this? None time said, right? So one of the problems that people will have is that, and I've said this over and over again too, is the thing that you get killed in is the least likely thing that you'll make your money back in, right? People revenge trading and all that kind of stuff. So we knew Netflix destroyed, MetaBuddy destroyed on the 2-2 reversal year. And, a lot of questions I get about are, in force, right? What does in force mean? I'm like, this is good all year. If you're below that, that's a 2-2 reversal. And then you can go those shorter time frames and look for any further reversal down on all that kind of stuff. And Amazon, see ya, 2-2 reversal year. We knew about that. And then with XLE, one of the great things is when we combine continuity and actionable signals, right? So with XLE last year, right, it was bright green. We knew it would probably stay inside, maybe not, but we already had continuity on the yearly, the quarterly, the monthly, and all that kind of stuff working. And there was a lot of good setups last year that then set up the 2-1-2 to go up to here. So now wasn't strong enough to take that out, but there's been a lot of good moves both ways in XLE. So just because we have that yearly signal doesn't mean we can't take that shorter term stuff. So what I mean by that is if we go here and you're going to see XLE, and talked about this in Vegas, and it's all documented, right? The Rev Strat 1, 2, 2 to start off the year. Boom. And so at this point, it starts blasting off, no lower lows in the month. And at this point, people are like, well, I missed it. I'm like, they'll try to go them out. They always do. And they did. A big 3-monther, which you could reverse, right? And take on the short side, right? Even though we know we have that yearly signal. So we're looking back for the upside. And so here, you had that 2 down, 2 up. And the hopes was this thing just goes blasting up to the highs. Didn't happen. That's why we stop out. Then here, 2 down, but not weak enough to take that out. And so I know this is a monthly chart, and we're dealing with yearly charts. And, we talk about patience. I think one of the greatest things I've taught people in the chat this room is patience. Be like, you got to wait. Like everybody comes going home on a Monday and be like, got all my great ideas for the new week. And I'm like, yeah, hold on. And so here, then you finally got that 2 down, 2 up here. And that's where we go take out the highs, right? Then to close out the year, most things in the XLE are 2 up, 2 down in the month, right? So now we can take it back the other way. So understanding all the different time frames, how they take over, what's going to go on, and I can't stress that enough. And that's why, when we have the macro video, a problem that many people will have, how do I organize my watch list? What am I looking at? Rob's talking at like 50 million things. I'm like, all right, well, this is a way that's easier. And, Strat Soldier will stay on it. We call it the tank division. Like, just give me those longer term signals, as well as the simultaneous break. I mean, when the energies went here, the market was tanking, but all of these were going up, right? And I explained that in Vegas, and I explained the simultaneous break a lot, that what that told us right here is that the hedge funds were buying energy. They didn't care about the market, didn't care. And 100% of them were a 2 up, right? if that happens, ain't no way it's going down. And so, I just moved my office home, and I was in an office for years with a bunch of old friends from the trading floor, all options traders, and they have their proprietary software and stuff like that. As much as I tried to train them in the strat, oftentimes with options, that what they would say to me is like, I'm like, look at this thing. This it's going there, and like, we don't care where the price is going. I want to know where it's not going. Like, all right, it's definitely not going. Is it here? It's definitely not going down. They're like, that's all I need to know, because most people think in terms of directional all the time, and you don't have to do that. Because here, if you did bull put spread, you'll be hear me say times, I'm like, I don't know how high it's going, but it's definitely not going down. And the guys in my office, I'm like, that's all I needed to know. Boom, whale the downside on the bull put spread. So coming into the new year, if we look at the longer term charts, like the problem is that we have a potential inside years, right? And because we're, especially if the market rallies back, because then you're coming back into the middle of ranges from last year. So obviously there's a long time to go in the year. So with XLE, how are you going to turn this negative? None time soon, right? Maybe an inside year and then back down. But unless you can take that out or gap up and start to go 3 going inside year. So a lot of people will get caught up in, this is my go-to, this is my go-to, this is my go-to. And when I teach the strat, I'd say, I'd rather have you trade the same setup than the same stocks, right? Because then you get stuck where you get used to something, and like oftentimes beginning traders will say, if they have a few winning trades in a certain stock, they'll say that I'm good at trading this stock. And I'm like, what I would say is, no, you're good at trading this condition. So identifying what condition something is in, and then tracking down the condition. I don't care who they are and what they are, XYZ, whatever it is. But you're winning because the strat is giving you a certain condition. You have a reversal, you have a continuation, you have continuity. And so once you can track that down, a lot of traders will come down. And, when I talk in the power hour coaching, oftentimes I'll say, I'd rather have you be a one-trick pony, that most people will come in and be like, I need to know every aspect of the strat. You don't have to do that. You can be one-trick pony. I'm like, I trade 2-2-monthers, and that's all I do right here. That's it. And I know that there's a simultaneous break. Why? Because almost all the energies are 2-2 months to the downside, right? That's going to work, right? And so that what that tells you on a monthly basis is you have all month to look for the daily, the 60, the 30, the 15 setups that reconfirm that with time frame continuity to the downside. So, don't overwhelm yourself. I know, since I've been on the headset, that oftentimes people will say that, listening to Rob is like drinking out of a fire hose. And I'm like, I understand that. And that's why we want to customize it to who you are, nail it down to your watch list, stay on it, check with me in the community. Like, if you type things into the chat, people will answer you and say, no way, or I'm doing that too, and I'm also looking at this. Here's why that would work. Wait for this, right? And as well as like when we talked about Jim Bradley being really fast, and some of my traders that are, on the 1 minute or the 3 minutes on the opening, that it doesn't mean that you should do that, but because the strat is so repetitive, it's going to show you what to look for on longer term time frames. Then you can slow it back down. And, oftentimes you'll hear me talk about slowing the newer folks to the gap list and only trading off the 30 and 60-minute charts. If you do that, it's going to take at least a half an hour to set up, right? So that, when you look at the combinations, we're always looking at combinations of time frames. And so when you come at 20 minutes past the hour, you can look at 30 and 60-minute charts. If this, how is this 30 setting up? If it works, is it going to trigger something on the 60, right? Or are they both going to trigger at the same time? Or 10 minutes above the hour, right? So from a macro basis, what we want to really be looking at, who's not going to be inside year? Because last year, they talked about Boeing all year. Oh, Boeing's going to come back and it's all over. I'm like, dude, how are you going to get out of this range? You aren't. This was the move, the 2-2 reversal year, puke, right? Then inside year last year. So anybody talked about Boeing last year had no idea what a macro chart looks like. I was like the whole year, I'm like, maybe see you in 2022. But now maybe rev strat back up. Don't know. But mother bar issues are a real deal, because what that means is now that you could potentially start a new broadening formation that has to get out of here, and nowhere near doing it. How are you going to take out this range? So coming into the new year, I halfway joked on Twitter about, could be the year of the Iron Condor. These things are doing nothing. These things are doing nothing. But then, we can track down the shenaniganers, and HKD this year. And this spike, do we know about that? We sure did. Now, yeah, it got a little spready and all that kind of stuff as it started blasting off. But look at this. This thing went, and I talked about it in the Strat Attack, recorded, and this thing went blasting from, $30 to 2,600, whatever, right? And so when we do that, there's always going to be something, like with the meme stocks and all that kind of stuff. So we just let it play out. But from a macro basis, you can hear me say this a lot about certain things, right? Is that how are you going to get out of there? How are you going to get out of there? And you're going to hear all the talking heads say this and that and whatever they want. But if you're going inside on the year, you got to know that, because it means we're going to have to go back and forth a lot more than we like, a non-trending market. However, if they do start puking, we could have the 3-2 year in the SPY. Nah, is that important? Sure is, because here, they really going to kill them. You take this out, now you're a 3-2 year to the downside. And if that works, you're back into an old 3-year 2020, right? Now, if you go back in time here, what you're going to see, there's only been 3 outside years since the 80s, if not even further back, right? So things are getting a little wild and woolly here. The problem is with that is that oftentimes when people are getting chopped up this bad, that maybe we go inside year. But that's certainly going to get my attention if you can go 3-2 down, because if you remember on the monthly in 2020, that's when things really got smashed. And right here, the 3-2 downer, to take this broadening formation, stop them all out, right? And then from a macro basis, this was April, which was a new quarter, right? So now you've got the green quarter, green green month, green day, green 60, boom, right back up. And, when things occur matters. I can't stress that enough. So coming into the end of the year, we're going to let them close out. I'll be looking at these macro charts and being like, here's all your potential inside years. And that's got to change, because the market's going to trade in the direction of the most twos, failed twos going 3, and time frame continuity. So here, at least to end out the year, the question is here, we poked up again. Do we get an outside month puker here to finish off the year? That would get my attention, because if it does, then we're closer to taking out the 3-2, the 2-2 year, right? That's going to get our attention, because, as I said before, I'm like, we all knew about this, baby. Once it started puking here, we're going to take this out, right? Because outside bars exist. So coming into the new year, I'll get into the macro vid at the end of the year, but certainly want to be aware of the mother bar issue. Where are we? Are we going to take out this year's ranges, highs or lows? Are we close to doing that? And then we want to see if you are, do we have a significant concentration in any given sector that's doing that? That's a simultaneous break. Right now, like I said, people get used to the go-tos and the energies, but now you might stall out and do nothing, right? For years. But that's why when it's on, it's on. All right. So I can't stress that enough, is that's what we're going to be looking at. Where are the twos? And so, I do a lot of scanning vids for Strat Attack. And so constantly what I'll be looking for is I'll be searching out, taking out this year's highs, taking out this year's lows. And just like during the day or during the Strat Attack, I'm constantly saying, looking at who's taking out last week's highs, who's taking out last week's lows. During the day, who's taking out yesterday's highs, who's taking out yesterday's lows. Is there a concentration of those that tells me that there's a simultaneous break? And, I was laughing when you're like, yeah, you might want to slow Ramon down because he talks too fast. I'm like, so do I. so, and I know if you're new to this, a lot of these concepts, you're going to be new to, but as we've been talking about today, a lot of this stuff is pretty cut and dry. It's either a 2 or it isn't. There's a high concentration of 2s or there isn't. If there's a high concentration of 1s, you got to sit tight, and that's just how it is. All right, how about that?
That is pretty awesome. I'm going to get STRATalurian on here as well because we got to get a guest in here. STRATalurian, you're also available here, but we do have another person here that we haven't heard from yet. Ryan is in the green room right now. I'm going to pull him up here. And STRATalurian, you want to do your little your intro on Ryan?
Yes. So our next guest is none other than Ryan Faluna of Benzinga. I think it's the Benzinga interview that Rob had done with Ryan that really launched the community into the stratosphere. And we're eternally grateful to Ryan for not only interviewing Rob, but also a few of the other prominent Strat members who we've heard from today. So without further ado, let's bring on Ryan Faluna. Ryan, welcome. By all means, go ahead. The floor is yours.
Okay. Can you hear me okay? I'm assuming you guys can hear me okay. Yes, no?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay.
Okay.
I'll give you a thumbs up. Thank you. Yeah.
Definitely.
You know what it's like. You know what it's like with these interview things. Sometimes
yeah, absolutely.
They go
believe
smoothly.
me. And like I said, I'm here to help any way that I can. I should be good to go though. Definitely don't need to be full screen like that. That's very kind. But in any case, no, I'm glad that you guys invited me. I'm happy to be here. I think one of the things that stands out here is we're getting closer and closer to Christmas. And if you recall, I can't remember if this is a private conversation or if it was something that Rob discussed in his interview with me. He talked about the epiphany that he had. I believe it was in a church on Christmas, either Christmas Eve or Christmas Day. We'll have to ask him when we get him on here about that. But that's coming up here, right? That's only a few weeks away here till the anniversary of his epiphany that led to the Strat. One of the coolest things about this for me, other than Rob being a local Chicago guy like myself, obviously he's going to get bonus points like that. I mean, I got a Blackhawks poster behind me. Rob's got his water heater behind him. We're representing Chicago the only way that we know how. So happy to be a part of that. But one of the other things that I really liked about this is that to me, like when I saw Rob for the first time and when I saw the Strat for the first time, it gave me a feel of how I could actually break down price action in a very, very simple way. And one of the things that I was struggling with when I was going through the process of learning about how different indicators are supposed to work and what price was supposed to do when it hits this level and what these different things mean is that a lot of the times it just doesn't work that way. It's something completely different. And Rob's method of kind of simply breaking this down and looking for the reversals really struck a chord with me. And so I started to incorporate some of his basic principles into my own trading. And now if you join the Benzinga live trading that we do every morning, well, I don't trade a strat based strategy. The reality is that the strategy that I trade there has all kinds of strat concepts in it, from looking for reversals to candles being in force and knowing where the price is likely to go, looking at different time frames, kind of mapping all that stuff out. So without even attempting to have like my own flavor of the strat, the mechanics of what Rob was doing kind of bled into what I was doing. And it's still that way to this day. So really, really cool. Really cool for that. The other really cool thing about this is that I'm all about community. Whether it's for the Benzinga ecosystem or just FinTwit in general or the Strat, I'm all about community. I'm someone that, I didn't come from a hedge fund. My parents weren't Wall Street people and bankers and mergers and acquisitions. I had to learn from everyone else out there. And I learned from people that were in the community. And I always wanted to, be able to give that back in any way that I could. And so Rob was always open with his time, and so too was his community members. So after I interviewed him, it was obviously such a success. There were other people. It was Jermaine and Sarah and James and Dee Dee and Joe and all of that. And it was just everyone had a little bit different flavor, and everyone wanted to share what they learned with the community. And I thought that was perfect. And I'm still about that. I'm still about the community. I mean, look at what just happened with the GameStop craze. That was a community that, you know, felt like they were fighting the war against hedge funds, and look how all that stuff turned out. So I'm big on community. I absolutely want to do anything that I can. You know, one of the other things, just a testament to how Rob is as a person, we have a chat room in the Benzinga Pro platform that is dedicated to the Strat. And there was a week where we had some technical difficulties during an upgrade where his room, for whatever reason, couldn't be seen by some of the people that were in there. It was really unfortunate for them. They all let me know. They all let me know that they couldn't see it. Well, what did Rob do? Well, in typical Rob action, he just went into the main room and started talking about the Strat and talking about different stuff. And before you knew it, you had most of the entire community looking at Rob's Strat and everything that was going on. And Rob was, of course, very, very friendly and absolutely hilarious. So makes for a really good person in the chat. And it just kind of naturally grew like that. So really cool stuff. Happy to be here to honor him. And it's great to hear that some of the videos that we did ended up, you know, producing more awareness. That was the goal, right? The goal wasn't necessarily for the Strat at that time. I've done interview with all types of different traders, including Andy from Mighty Soldiers Trades. But to be able to do more of those and then to have it kind of explode and grow, that's absolutely great. And I think that that's what makes FinTwit so awesome. And so I'm happy to be a part of it any way that I can.
Well,
okay,
we can't have dead air, but there he is. There he is,
Yeah.
giving the smile right there. But yeah, he's wiping off the tears because no, I'm just kidding. These two Chicago guys, I had a blast when I went to Rob's office. I was able to learn for about a week there, just seeing how he absolutely just orchestrated this symphony of charts and these screens and able to watch the entire market. And the platform that Benzinga and you gave him was absolutely phenomenal. And then bringing all those people that were just willing to talk about the Strat was amazing, and literally just blew up the organic growth, because there's no marketing that really goes out for the Strat. It's just word of mouth, and it's just spreading like wildfire. Even if people aren't using the Strat per se, you're using a lot of Strat principles. And so you bring up a very good point that, even with your own trading, you use a lot of Strat principles, but you don't, use the hashtag the Strat, quote unquote. But we all have our own little flavor here and there. When you're trading the Strat, it's very important that, you take Rob's course, you listen in his live rooms, you learn directly from him. Otherwise, it is kind of just a carbon copy of everybody else putting their own little spin on it. But me as well. I've traded for 14 years, so I have my own spin on it. But ultimately, the very core of it, as a beginning trader, you need to trade price action. Forget indicators for a moment. Start with a clean slate. Just understand how price action works. I can't speak any more, favorably for this, just because it was such a simple way to explain price action. I'm not trying to I'm going to bring STRATalooza on here as well, because there's you've done so much for the community too, Ryan, by getting those people on. I wish I was there with Rob at FinTwit. I was hoping to actually see you there, just to chat with you for a little bit, but unfortunately, I'm sure you had other things going on. But
yeah, actually, so you must be referring to Vegas, right?
Yes,
so,
the Vegas.
Okay,
yep.
so that was unfortunate, the way that happened. I did want to go. I was planning to go. Had some last minute change of plans behind the scenes that caused that. I'm sure I will catch you at one of the future events. And all of the reports that we got was that Rob was actually one of the best presentations at that event. So I'm sure Rob will be back. I'm sure I will be back, and I'm sure we will all be able to meet. And I'm glad that you're bringing everyone on, because we're supposed to be talking about it as a community. Let's get the community. Get the community here.
Let's get Didi back up.
One of the things. Yeah. One of the things that really happened with the Strat for me was that I actually started to use less indicators, especially for day trading. When I'm swing trading or investing, I'm more of a story guy. There has to be some type of fundamentals or underlying something or other there. So that's a little bit different. But for day trading, I used to I learned about all of the different moving averages, the exponential moving averages, the regular one, the whole cloud, the VWAP, the CCI. I actually looked into CCI after I interviewed Didi. I was like, she's onto something here. RSI, MACD, all of these other indicators. And at one point, I mean, I must have had 10 or 15 on the chart. And it's like, this is getting ridiculous. So what I do now, what the strat has really kind of, the end result has been that it has actually removed indicators off of my platform. When I'm doing day trading now, you'll see one indicator other than price and volume, and that's VWAP. And everything else that I'm doing there is basically a strat concept. I'm looking for a reversal near a support level or after a support level has been put in. And on the upside, I'm looking for a range break normally. So I'm looking for a candle to go in force, to borrow some of the other language that I got from Jermaine. And really, I don't need indicators for this. It's more of a feel thing at this point. The only indicator that really, really helps me in this quest is VWAP. So it to me, like I said, it's really cool to see how it's changed for everyone and how everyone puts their own little flavor on it. For me, aside from the whole Chicago connection, it's really cool because it actually has simplified things for me. And one of the things that I point to is how I can clean my charts up by putting less and less stuff on them and just kind of pay attention to core principles.
Yep, absolutely. I can attest to that as well.
Mm-hmm.
Because just like you, I enjoy the VWAP quite a bit. And, I gave my spiel at the very beginning, but even the blind trader here, Mike's going to be coming on here to talk a little bit about what's going on. STRATALearn, if you want to bring him on, unless you got something else, a little something to sign off there, Ryan. I know you got to get going. But I really appreciate you coming on, just like everybody else. STRATALearn, thank you so much for putting this on and working with you here at the last minute of the hour, getting all the logistics where Rob did not want to do just a Twitter space, but I'm glad that he went with not doing a Twitter space so that we could push the envelope a little bit with getting everybody on and getting some of this production going out. Thank you guys so much that are joining. We've had 200 plus people joining, and we're maintaining 170 people, 180 people watching. This is an absolute blast. Not only is it a bunch of different people paying testament to Rob, but also we definitely have this community behind us that we are trying to give back to the community. We always do a lot of free content. And on top of that, we've got Trend Spider that's giving out some free. How many STRATALearn? It's 2-3 month.
2-3 month subscriptions, and we've got some Strat swag, and
Awesome.
we have a couple of. We've got access to Rob's room, Rob's course as a giveaway. So stay tuned for all those details after the event ends. We will be sending out how you can. Get yourself entered in to win some of these fantastic prizes that people have put up for the community, right? Just our way of saying thanks to Rob and to everybody who's here today. We wouldn't be where we are today if it wasn't for Rob and the strat and the community that he's built. So we'll bring Michael on. Thank you, Ryan, and everything that you and Benzinga have done for the strat community. Looking forward to continuing relations and building and just working together, collaborating. The trading community is it's a big community, and we need to continue to build bridges with other communities and other groups, because trading is tough. We all know how difficult trading can be, and if we isolate ourselves and just not put our best foot forward, it makes things a lot more difficult than they already are. So thank you, Ryan and Benzinga, for all of your love and support. We absolutely appreciate you, and we look forward to seeing you again soon.
No problem. I'm happy. I'll leave you with this. You were talking about trading being difficult, and you're absolutely right. I think one of the most difficult things is how challenging it can be mentally, especially when things aren't going well. And I haven't met a trader yet, no matter what strategy they trade, that hasn't gone through a period of where things are a little bit tough. So when that period comes around, it's important to have a community that you can lean that you can lean on, and the Strat clearly has that, and I think that will serve it for years to come. I see a whole lot of love from the Strat community from people here in the chat. Elaine Bennis, who I never actually got to interview. Elaine, I think that you would agree that this community is sponge worthy, would you not? It certainly seems that way. So when things are a little bit difficult, leaning on mentors, community, that type of thing has really worked out well for me. It seems like that's what's going to work out here for the Strat community. So happy to help, and I look forward to collabing in the future.
Thank you. And our final guest is Michael Halcombe. He's also part of the Mighty Soldiers family. Just an absolutely phenomenal individual, so down to earth, just never quits, never gives up. I'm not even going to go any further because I can't wait to hear what he has to say. So Michael, also known as the Blind Trader, welcome. The floor is yours. Go right ahead. Thank you.
Thanks, bud. I just wanted to let Rob know, really, that he's rich. He's reaching people, and I know that's what his whole goal was, and he's helped me. I mean, I've been able to turn my trading into just a hit and miss kind of making profit to actually now whenever I take trades on the month or even on the quarter like they were talking about earlier. I feel like everybody's already talked about what I was going to say because literally we're all doing the same thing. We really are. We're just learning. We just got to learn how to do it on our own. But we're waiting on is for 1s, 2s, and 3s to make their moves. And we know what we want to do. We all have our own strategy. And from there, we just and I love the strat because I can go from trading it in 5-minute charts to the quarter. I can go even a year. I'm working on some stuff right now that I've been holding on to this whole year, and it's my best trades ever. So that's appreciated, I guess, to Rob there, which I learned from Strat Soldier. He was the guy that really taught me because I kind of went to his Saturday course and just refreshed every week with him and stayed on top of it. But I just wanted to let him know, and he's reaching people, even people that don't. I'm legally blind. I've only got about 5 degrees of vision left, so I only need to be able to see the candles, though. And like Ryan was saying, I don't need all those other indicators. I used to. Now I don't. If you're going to see something on my chart now, it's going to be an alert. That's all you're going to get. It's going to let me know what my move's going to be from there. I've already got it set. It's just going to alert me. And another thing was TrendSpider. I didn't get to talk to Dan. I was going to thank him again. That TrendSpider. That's another thing. I don't think I could find these highs and lows on these candles on the days without TrendSpider because it just grabs them and locks in the line on it. So I'm not sure if anybody else finds that helpful, but for someone that can't see very well, that is huge because it just grabs a hold of the top of the candle, and then if I want to go and hit the solid candle, I can take it down some and it'll lock it into the solid candle. It's really great for people that can't see very well, and it gives me my numbers. So, but I just want to say thanks, man. I appreciate you teaching us.
All right. Thank you, Mike. I've got STRATalooza on here as well. As being the final speaker here, I know it's kind of hard to be the final speaker just because you've definitely seen everybody else kind of talk a little bit. So it's I get it being the last one. And as far as closing remarks, I don't have anything prepared. I didn't plan on anything or saying anything. We're going to bring everybody else on too here as well. Dee Dee, I'm bringing you back on. Rob is the Godfather himself is right there in the on the that tapestry. Finally got that word right. I've been thinking about what it is all day long. We got to get Rob back on, but I think he may have had to take a quick break. So once he gets back on, we can kind of start some closing remarks, because I do want him to be here for this, because this is all for him. We've all really just gravitated towards Rob and really helped build the community. You've got the blind trader here, very inspirational. You've definitely, if you can't, if you have a hard day is what I'm trying to say, and you're saying you can't do this or it's hard, think about only having about 5% of your vision left. And, I'm sure that can't be easy. TrendSpider helps you out with their awesome charts, but it's, if you think you're struggling, give Mike a shout. I'm sure he'll get back to you on DMs and things like that. So, Dee, do you have any other closing remarks you'd like to say? Can't quite hear you, but I'm sure you'll unmute right there.
Yep, sorry.
Oh, there's Rob. There you go.
Yeah, I had my mouse couldn't get that thing to move over. I have two screens up.
Yep.
This is awesome, and I really appreciate you guys for putting this on. They always talk about give the person, their flowers while they're still living, right? And the idea that you guys came up with to do this for Rob, because I think it goes without saying, there's so much going on in this in the world right today, and we don't know when that opportunity may come again. So I just want to say thank you guys for putting this on. And I'd read this one tweet from earlier, and I did want to share with the listeners, because it's so true to who Rob is and what he has tried to teach us as it relates to the strat. And it was a quote by Nelson Mandela that says, "I never lose. I either win or I learn." And so I would just say to the community, if you're having difficulty, stay with it. Don't use real money while you're still learning, right? Take this opportunity, subscribe to Rob's room. Like I said, I was there for a couple years as I started to mature my own models using, the strat as my foundation. I just added in, CCI, but it took, just listening, that repetitiveness that is the strat, for it to really to start to sink in. But don't see yourself, if you're struggling, as losers, but just as an opportunity to continue to learn.
Wise words as always. Thank you, Dee. When I came up with this idea of just, getting a bunch of people together to say thank you to Rob, it was just, a spark that I had in my mind. It was like, you know what? The strat community has grown to be so big. There's so many people out there who are trading the strat. Why not just bring everybody we can together? And it just started off as, me sending out a few DMs. Hey, I just want to do something small for Rob. And, we could have had another 20 guests, and we could have gone on for another few hours, just with all the people who, Rob has impacted in their lives. And, when we talk about trading, we know how with the strat, it's simple, but it's not easy. So my message to all the traders out there is, think about, the next 1,000 trades. For those of you that have heard me before, the next 1,000 trades is what we're looking at. It's not the next trade. If you take a loss on the next trade, that's part of trading. But think about it over the next 1,000 trades, and use the strat and lean on everybody else we have here in the community, because this is a fantastic community. I mean, we just barely scratched the surface on all the knowledge and experience our speakers have shared with us today, right? Each and every one of us is offering our thanks and our gratitude to Rob. You know, some of us were profitable before we learned the strat, but the strat took things to a whole other level, right? Even if you were profitable, you know, talk to the ones who have been trading for a while, DD, OG. You know, we've got some other pretty heavyweight traders that we have in the strat community. Ask all of them; they'll tell you, you know what, the strat has made our lives easier, and we owe all of that to Rob. And you know, we often ask ourselves, what's the next two, right? When we're trading, what's the next two? But we don't only do this in trading; we do this in life. You know, is the next decision that you're going to take, is it going to be a 2 up or a 2 down? There are many who have triangled themselves out of friendships and being part of the greatest community out there. You know, we have a fantastic community. All the speakers here today have the same message. We are a family, right? There is no us versus them. There's no with us or against us. You know, let's be kind to each other. Let's speak good words to people. We're all here for Rob. We will continue to help and support him and each other. You know, when we talk about the strat, it's a reflection on, you know, Rob and everything that he's done. So how we conduct ourselves is a direct reflection on Rob when we're talking about his life's work, which is the strat. And, you know, while we trade to make money, money doesn't buy respect, right? Sharing knowledge, as Rob has done, it doesn't diminish anything. It doesn't take away from anyone, right? When you have wealth, you have to protect it. But knowledge, the knowledge that Rob has given us, it protects us from ourselves and from the market, right? So Rob's legacy isn't how much money people have made from or off of his teachings. It's how many lives and families and communities that we all as straters have enhanced, right? It's all about, you know, helping others, being strat ambassadors to the rest of the trading community, and, you know, most of us just being 2 up in life and in relationships. That's, I think, the message that Rob is really trying to get across to us, right? Okay, sure, we can make money, but you know, how are you taking that? What are you doing with that? There are a lot of you know, causes that Rob is very passionate about. You know, he mentioned how he used to volunteer in the NICU. I'm going to share a link later for a cause that Rob is very passionate about. If anybody is feeling generous, feel free to donate to that. You know, it's all about family. It's all about community, right? You'll see one of the things that I say often is a quote that I heard: "If you want to go fast, go alone. But if you want to go far, go together." Right? So thank you all for attending. Keep on loving one another as brothers and sisters. We are a family. You know, trade the strat, live the strat, and I wish you all peace and blessings. Thank you, Rob, for everything that you have done. And, you know, just keep on keeping on, you know, just live the strat. Thank you.
Thanks everybody for coming out. I'm really moved by this. I didn't expect this, but you know, I'm just so moved. I have, you know, Rob at loss for words. Like, but you know, what I can say is respect the family, right? And so, you know, we've been out here a long time, and you know, for people who've been staying out here with us all day, that, you know, obviously you're either, you know, rejoicing in what we're doing, or you're looking for something and you're finding it. Because I know for myself, you know, I could sit here and be like, strat blah 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 for 2.5 hours. I'm like, I already know this. But to see how the people are explaining it to you, to see the meaning of it coming out in their hearts, and you know, to reaching out to you, and what everybody did today for me, or you know, for the strat, really is just so moving. I don't have much more to say. I just you know, I enjoy it, and I'm glad that a lot of people came out here, and I'm sure that, you know, the angels in heaven rejoice over just one. So even if just one person comes to the strat and we change that life, and that's what we did today, so be it. Hopefully, and I'm sure it's going to be a lot more. But thanks for everybody for coming out. Thanks for everybody who spoke today. You know, I love you, and my gratitude. I have so much gratitude for what everybody did today, and hopefully, and I'm sure, for everybody in the chat and everybody who came out today, this is going to change some lives. So everybody have a great weekend, and Merry Christmas.
All right, thank you. Hey, Stratalorian, real quick, where are we going to be able to send out that information about winners for the Trend Spider, Rob's live room? Thank you, Dee Dee. Thank you, Blind Trader, as you guys are signing off. Rob, thanks again. I really appreciate you guys. Thank you so much. So Stratalorian, how can we, where can we look forward to this?
Okay, so first of all, thank you all for attending, of course, and thanks to Rob and everything that he's done. The details with regards to the giveaway will be posted from the STRATapalooza Twitter account, so watch out for that. We'll be sending that out later this evening. You will need to be following both Rob Smith and Trend Spider in order to win, and Benzinga, my apologies, to win the prizes. There's some swag, there's some memberships, a course. Keep an eye out for that. You will have to do a couple of things. So make sure you follow, make sure you like, and then OG and I will do a random draw based on everybody who likes that post. And that's how we will determine the giveaways. OG, do you want to say anything before we sign off?
No, I think we've pretty much covered it. We've exhausted quite a bit, but we're definitely not at exhaustion risk right now. There's always so much we can talk about. Trust me. If we got everybody on and rolling and everybody getting together, whenever we get together with Rob, we can have day-long sessions. I'm pretty sure we could. Week-long, probably. Not that we're going to do that, but thank you everybody for joining us today. Make sure you follow STRATapalooza on Twitter so that you get those instructions on that giveaway. But really appreciate you guys. I didn't plan on making the last comment. It's almost like one of these things where you volley back and forth and it's like, okay, who's signing off, who's not signing off. It's like when you got your boyfriend, girlfriend in high school and it's like, no, I'm not hanging up. No, I'm not hanging up. I'm not hanging up. But thank you guys so much. I hope you guys have a wonderful weekend, a wonderful trading day, wonderful trading week, the rest of the year, everything. And as always, nothing but profits and peace.